right, welcome back to the party, everybody. I am your host, Lush, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Everybody hit that like and subscribe. You know I would do it for you. And let's party. Big shout out to the replay gang. Thank you so much for coming back to watch this, even though you missed the live party. Guys, that is the best part. So make sure you are here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and sometimes whenever I feel like. I've been going live a lot more often, so hit that subscribe, ring the bell, and you will never miss an Indian Jesus live party ever again. If you'd like to support the channel, head on over to theindianjesus.com for your very own official merch. We do also have a free Discord server, guys. It is absolutely free to join 24/7. We are in there having awesome conversations. There's the free chat, the current events, all that good stuff. But if you would like full access, just scroll right below this video. There is a join button to become a member of the channel, and it not only comes with members only live streams here, priorities, all that good stuff, but you get full access to the Discord server, which includes the after party, which every single Monday, Wednesday, Friday stream, when the stream here is done and we are done ducking under the YouTube censors and you're stuck behind your keyboard, not anymore. You're on screen with me and everybody else. It is a good time. Come and join us. So it's been quite a busy week, and I know you guys probably have already seen Trump on Dr. Phil. Not much to tee it up with. So let's just say shout out to John all the way from Huntsville tonight, and let's dive right in. As always, guys, if you cannot hear the video, please do let me know. Certainly compared to Biden. Again, guys, if you want to watch this without my commentary, I do talk a lot. That's why I started a YouTube channel. So the link to the unedited thing is in the description below. Thank you, John. Let's take 2 on the volume there.
Yeah, you look well.
Good, bad, good.
No pressure.
Let me know. And what's the other thing I was going to say? We'll come back to it.
To lead a life
Let me know,
no
John. Thank you.
Whatsoever. Corruption, surrounded by corrupt judges and corrupt politicians. Other than that, there's no pressure.
Well, you know, you and I talked the other night, and I work in trial sciences for a lot of my career, and so I have a particular interest in the dynamics of the trial setting. You're fighting this fight and standing up for the rights of due process and fighting against prosecutorial misconduct and prosecutorial abuse.
You know, it was interesting when you called the other day about doing an interview. A lot of people want to do interviews, and I don't just agree to them very easily. But I've always had great respect for you. I watch your show, some of the real good ones and some of the less intellectual ones, and that's okay too. But it's always been, you've always been very special. And I knew that you were in some form very much involved with trials. And I found it to be very interesting that you would take this up. It's a very important thing.
Well,
shout out to and welcome to the party. Good to see you. And yeah, I used to be a big fan of Dr. Phil. Like back when I was in, I guess it was either middle school or high school, before I was like, into stuff and able to go out and on school days, I'd just come home and Dr. Phil would be on. So I would just watch that every day. And, this was, again, when I was younger, so I wasn't really politically involved, but definitely opened my eyes to a lot of, stuff that could be going on around the world, or at least the country. Welcome.
Very interesting that you would take this up. It's a very important thing.
Well, I wanted to, and I know that there was some news coming out of Georgia today. There was some news coming out of Florida today that they're stepping back from this. And
very good news.
I called for the other day, and I don't know if you saw it, but on Merritt Street Media, where I now do my show, I called for President Biden to stop all of this now. And of course, a lot of people said, oh, he can't stop it. It's a state case. Well, okay, that's an explanation for stupid people. But for people that understand how this works behind the scenes and all, I say the same thing.
Shout out to Indie Fam. Welcome to the party. So guys, that's what I was going to say. I'm not sure how this is on Trump's channel, so we shouldn't have any issues with copyright or anything. If we do, then I'll try to break it up. But worst case scenario, if we do, if we're about to get pulled, Candace Owens just restarted her podcast, and we can dive into that. I'm hoping that's not going to happen, but just in case, I do have a backup plan.
that understand how this works behind the scenes and all, I say the same thing. They need to stop this. They need to stop pursuing you. Since you started your campaign in 2015 to run for office, there have been so many attempts to get you off the board even before you started your campaign. Then once you were in office, 2 impeachment opportunities, they changed the rules to try to make it high crimes and misdemeanors if there were business conflicts, and in this case,
Never ends.
it seems to be never ending.
It seems to be never ending. And so rational people see, well, that can't possibly be right. But everybody else is just like, yep, I guess it's just never ending. He's just the worst person ever.
And that is a distraction to you. I really wonder how that affects you. What do you say to yourself about that? Because it seems to never be ending.
It's a never-ending thing. There's a term that I know you've heard many times. It's called Trump derangement syndrome, and nobody's ever seen anything like it. In one way, we drive them totally crazy because we're doing the right thing. You wonder, why would somebody want to have open borders where people are coming in from jails, prisons, where they're coming in from mental institutions, and as you know better than anyone else, they're coming in, they're releasing the people all over the world, not just South America, from mental institutions. And
shout out to Taylor Wooden. Welcome to the party. Said rigged. Hopefully not this time around. We got it in the bag. As long as everything is above board, we got it in the bag as of now. Welcome to the party.
Jails and prisons, and they're terrorists coming in by the thousands. They're pouring into our country. And who would allow this? You know, it's
Biden.
Common sense, not a conservative thing. If they would devote that same skill and talent to making America great again, it would really be a wonderful thing. But in the meantime, we're beating them. You know, you mentioned I got impeached twice, and I won twice very easily, very quickly. We had great support from the Republican Party.
Shout out to Mark Grace, all the way over from Australia. Welcome to the party over on Instagram. Good to see you.
All these cases, all my life, I didn't have any problem. And all of a sudden, within a matter of months, I end up with 4 cases. Now, of course, it's from the White House and the Department of Justice. They totally control the state case. In fact, I'm not allowed to even be talking about certain aspects of it because I have a gag order. Think of it. I'm the Republican nominee. I was the president, and I'm leading the current Democrat by a lot. And I have a gag order from a local judge that was appointed by the Democrat Party. A local judge. He's a local person. And he is appointed, and he put a gag on.
A local judge, okay? He's a local person.
Nobody's ever seen anything like it.
Mark says, no Trump equals no America. I completely agree. As I've said a number of times before, I do believe that this is an existential election for this country. Not that I think Trump is going to be some big savior. I think Trump is going to be the one that kind of doesn't get much done, but allows, whatever we're going to do in 2028, allows us that time. With Biden, like I've said, Biden's careening off a cliff, and Trump is going to be the one that's kind of just standing there. And as much as you want to be walking away from the cliff, better than careening off of it.
While you're campaigning.
While I'm campaigning, like you just mentioned a question that I'm not allowed to talk about. Right. Can you imagine? I'm the Republican nominee, and I'm not allowed to talk because a local judge from New York, appointed by Democrats, said I can't talk about it. It's so unfair. And then he gives a jury charge. Nobody's ever heard of a charge like this. He gave instructions to the jury. And by the way, the jury happened to be in a location that was almost no Republicans. You understand that?
Yeah, it's 87-13 in the last 2 elections, Republican. And I know you can't talk about it. I'm not under a gag order. I do know that the number 3 person in the Department of Justice took a pay cut and went down in stature to go to a state job and become one of the lead prosecutors in this case. But yet they say, hey, Dr. Phil, why are you saying that President Biden needs to stop all of this? It's a state case. That's exactly why I'm saying it. Don't be naive, people. Understand that there's a power play going on.
Shout out to Dr. Phil. I don't know, I maybe this is my own bias, but just, like Amber was saying, we, used to watch and then just kind of fell off and, get into other things and whatever. But I had assumed that, with like the ladies of The View making the news all the time of saying this thing and saying that thing. And, all the way back when, what was her name? Kelly Osbourne was like, well, Mr. Trump, if you don't want Mexicans here, then who's going to clean your toilet? And everybody was like, oh, hey, whoa. And she was like, well, no. That's So I just lumped in like everybody who was on daytime TV that, okay, I guess if you're on daytime TV, you have to kind of, appeal to that audience. And it wasn't until, relatively recently, I don't remember exactly what it was. I don't even remember the exact context, but Dr. Phil had some shows where Matt Walsh was on, and, they're talking about the trans issue, and it's done some other stuff since then. And seems like Dr. Phil is based. Mark Gray says we need to get rid of the 1% elites who control everything. There's more of us than there is of them. Dilly to that. Indeed. Look, and that is where, when we talk about the woke right, where somebody, I just saw something. Oh, I can't remember what it is, but I just saw something where it was like, oh my God, there's a gay person in this cartoon. And it's like, hold on. That's the 2018, 2019 argument. Like, it's okay if there's gay stuff around. We just don't want it shoved down everybody's throats. Take the wins where you can get them, and don't be triggered the same way the wokies were triggered by every little thing.
That's exactly why I'm saying it. Don't be naive, people. Understand that there's a power play going on
It's
here.
controlled by the White House and the DOJ. 100%.
Gerard Baker wrote in Wall Street Journal today, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said, what do we say to those people that are rejoicing over reducing law to the status of a weapon in the hands of the dominant political power?
Well, that's a bar.
Paraphrasing, but he said,
this is a good one.
What do we say to those people that are rejoicing over reducing law to the status of a weapon in the hands of the dominant political power?
What do we say to those who are rejoicing at taking the law to the status of a weapon in the hands of the dominant political power? They clearly don't understand that the pendulum swings. This is, I was just watching like a deep dive on Eric Cartman and how he, it was just a fun little thing, but a character breakdown and how he, manipulates people and plays the victim and this and that and that and that and that. And it shows a pattern. And the people who are celebrating the fact that Trump is going through all this clearly don't see that the weapon is the issue and not the fact that it's being pointed at the people that they don't like. It's so short-sighted. Hey, shout out to Stephanie Miller. Welcome to the party. Signing up as a member. And of course, every donation comes with a treat for my co-host, Morty. Welcome to the party. Always good to see you. Welcome.
Reducing law to
that makes you the new sponsor of the stream.
Status of a weapon in the hands of the dominant political power. Because that's what's happening right now.
Even Trump was like, oof, that was a bop. That was a bop.
It's become a weapon. And that's not what it's intended for. That's not what we need to be doing. I mean, let's let the people decide these, right?
That's right. That was a very good statement in the Wall Street Journal. I read that this morning. And it's so true. I mean, it's so accurate. They've weaponized to a level. They are trying to affect the election by demeaning, hurting in any form. And by the way, I think after the election, the hatred's great enough that they'll go, but with much less enthusiasm. This is about November 5th, which I think is going to be the most important day in the history of our country. If we don't turn this around, we're not going to have a country left anymore.
Well,
I told you. I mean, it just doesn't make sense that we can keep going. Even if obviously using the analogy of careening off a cliff, obviously, if you're careening off a cliff and you don't stop, then you're going to go off the cliff. But even like real life, it's like, how far can some of these things go before it's like, I don't think this is going to work out the way you want it to. Stephanie said, I guess we know that Oprah does not control Dr. Phil. Well, maybe he did for a while. Maybe she did for a while, but he's definitely coming out of his shell. And again, always good to see ya. I went to Best Buy today to get one of these things. Like, because when I'm upstairs, like when I'm down here, I have a different monitor for the thing, so I can see the chat and everything, and that's not affected. But when I'm upstairs, I'm doing everything from my laptop, so I'm switching back and forth. So I went to go get one of these things at Best Buy because I have a Best Buy gift card. They only had one in stock that was like 3 times the price that you could get on Amazon, and I keep waiting for stuff. I've had this gift card for like 4 years, and I keep waiting for stuff to be able to use it. But Amazon it is. Amazon it is. So hopefully the next bedroom show will be a little bit smoother. But anyway, let's move on.
Our country. If we don't turn this around, we're not going to have a country left anymore.
Well, we're a country of laws, right? I mean, and that's what's made us so orderly. That's what's allowed us to progress forward. And there's something that are called hornbook laws or black letter law that is just, these things have just been around so long. And these were violated in your case, one right after the other. For example, you don't let someone that has been charged in the same case as someone else, and they made a plea deal and said, okay, I'm guilty of doing this because they were intimidated into doing it. The lawyer in your case, we don't even need to speak his name.
Shout out to Michael Cohen.
He bartered around out from under 65 years, looking at 65 years of imprisonment down to 3 years and 2 years on this case and a tax case. So went from 65 years down to 5 years in exchange for giving them testimony against you. That's not supposed to come in, but it did.
Just right there, that whole thing, or I mean, I say that whole thing, but the only thing that he just said, that alone should be enough for a mistrial, a dismissal, any of these things. That alone. But it's Trump.
Making a deal, a non-prosecution agreement. That's not supposed to come in, but it did. That got into the jury box. They got to hear all of that. And so they say, well, if we're not down here for the reasons they're saying, then we need an alternative explanation, which they're not allowed to get because your expert witness that was going to come in and say, as a former chairman of the Election Commission, was going to say this was looked at. There's no issues here. They didn't allow that person to talk, to testify. And I'm looking at this saying, how is the jury supposed to solve this problem if they don't have all the pieces to the puzzle?
They wouldn't listen to him. They wouldn't talk to him. They didn't want to hear his testimony. They knew what he was going to say. He was going to say it was 100%. And very importantly, when they tell somebody, you're going to jail for 15 years, unless you say bad things about this guy named Trump. Okay? Now,
and like you think that that's the Trump version of exaggerating or simplifying. Nope. They just they said exactly that. Say bad thing about this guy or else.
In all fairness, we know a lot of great people, but you don't know too many that would say, I'm not going to do what they want.
Yeah.
He goes up to somebody.
Everybody's got a price.
Dr. Phil, you're going to jail for 15 years unless you say bad things about Trump. And if you say the bad things, you're not going to jail at all. In fact, we're going to make you a hero. Or you're going to go for 3 months, or you're going to go for a short period of time. How many people are there that say, I'm not going to do that? There have been people.
Yeah, that's right.
And those are, in my opinion, these are great people. What they've done to people that work for me is incredible. Yeah. Incredible.
So Mark says, Trump's biggest problem is controlling the American military-industrial complex, who are warmongers and who no president has been able to control. War equals billions in profits to the military-industrial complex. Yeah, I mean, I think that is definitely one of the biggest things that is, overstated when it comes to like, oh, I'm going to drain the swamp. It's like, okay, that's a nice idea, but do you really know what you're dealing with? Like, what you're dealing with? Like, okay, you've been at the top of companies where there's this, that, and that. But good, that's definitely going to help you. But as we saw in 2016 to 2020, that you didn't have, you didn't do it. You didn't do it. Nobody's saying you didn't try. But this ain't hand grenades or horseshoes. You are the president. The buck stops with you. It did not happen. And so, yeah, hopefully he has learned his lesson. Taylor says, I think America needs a very strong military like we have, but focus more on our independence and defense and foreign and border control. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's no reason to, put ourselves at a deficiency, especially because we're already in the position where we have that military. But at this point, it should be like, all right, military's, the stats for the military. It was a video game, 100 out of 100. Just keep it where it is. Keep everything in tip-top condition and wait. That's all we should be doing. Now, obviously, it gets more complicated than that. But in general, we shouldn't be building. We shouldn't be trying to get ourselves involved in this and that and that and that. Just hold and chill. Focus more on our independence. And I mean, even defense of foreign borders should fall below on the list of priorities. Obviously, we definitely do need, to protect foreign borders. Otherwise, they're not, alliances don't really matter. But at the end of the day, the American homeland comes first. Shout out to Leslie McDowell. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So Trump tried to coup Venezuela for the benefit of Koch and the detriment to the U.S. Unfortunately, he worked inside the complex as president. What? Can you give me some context of what you're talking about? I'm not familiar with what you're talking about. Good to see you as well. Good to see you. Good to see you. Where are the no, I noticed there's a couple names that are usually here and may or may not be watching another conservative on the whatever. I see you.
What they've done to people that work for me is incredible. Yeah. Incredible. The threats, the taking of a gentleman who's been with me for years and telling me he's going to jail for 15 years unless they say, and he went back to jail a second time. I guess they didn't want him to testify. I don't know what happened exactly, but the threats that they made to this man, they've destroyed his life. These are fascists. These are really bad people, Phil.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. So you're saying that in the what's the word I'm looking for, as opposed to draining the swamp, that he was working with them. And yeah, again, I completely agree. I don't think that there is a way that we could just in one term become the type of country that doesn't mess with anything anywhere and does only what citizens are asking for. I don't think that would necessarily have been. That wouldn't have necessarily been a failure if Trump didn't completely pull every troop home. But it was a failure because he didn't go as far as he would have liked to go. And so the whether it's listening to the wrong people or not realizing that you have the wrong people around, whatever it is, again, I don't really care. That's not my job. That's your job, and it didn't get done. So I love you. I'm voting for you, but you didn't get it done. And I'm not going to pretend that you're somebody you're not.
This man, they've destroyed his life. These are fascists. These are really bad people, Phil. But who's going to do it? You're going to jail for 15 years, or you're going to go for 30 days or 40 days, or you're going to go for no time, but you have to say bad things about Trump.
Yeah, and that's intimidation. And some of these people, you look at their age, you look at their health, and for some of it could be a death sentence. And so they make a deal, and that's what I talk about. That's what I mean when I say prosecutorial abuse.
Right.
Did anyone ever approach you and try to get you to make a deal, drop out of the race, make a deal here?
I guarantee you he's going to say yes. I guarantee you he's going to say yes. So let's go back here. Amber is saying, who has a choice to work at the mic? We're going to call it the mic. I'm not saying military industrial complex all the time. Who has a choice to work with the mic? Well, we know how powerful it is along with other agencies. It's asinine to think he could have avoided it his first term. I completely agree. Let's say the only reason they don't like Trump is because he can't win Georgia or Arizona. We'll see. I mean, it wasn't until 2022 when he announced that the FBI document case and all these 20-year-old cases popping up. Looks like what happened? It's telling me lost connection. Let me know if you can't hear me. Looks like the deep state is using courts against Trump so they can get a Republican that can win. I mean, no Republican is going to do as well as Trump is going to do in, this year, as long as they let him. Mark over on Instagram says Trump could not get anything done whilst president because for the past 8 years, all the Washington, D.C. staff and bureaucrats who simply ignored Trump's directives and or went slow with no intentions. Yeah, there's definitely no denying the fact that there was opposition. Now, you could argue that every president is going to deal with opposition, and that is not at all an excuse. But I'm willing to kind of grade him on a curve for the fact that now looking back, that was a great presidency, and he didn't know. So if he didn't know what he didn't know, and it was bad, then I'd be like, all right, well, then clearly you just shouldn't have been there. I don't know either. That's why I'm not running. But the fact that he ran and he didn't know everything that he needed to know, he's not a politician. He wasn't a politician. And things went so well I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt that, okay, hopefully that you learned your lesson, and I don't even expect perfection. I don't expect much at all. I just expect to be able to do what we want to do. They ignored Trump's directives and/or went with slow or no intentions to do as they were told. This time around, Trump will be the wiser and get rid of the Obama lovers. Hopefully. Emmer says, BS, I'm from Arizona, and he won until the 2020 shenanigans. Everyone here knows it was shenanigans. The problem is the McCain-type Republicans, Ducey, etc., the rhinos, the neocons, that's the split. That's the split in the party. And so it might be the perception that, okay, so it makes sense that donors are moving on from. There's a definite shift between do the donors actually run the party and versus do the people run the party. And I mean, yes, I don't think that we've had some huge revolution, but certainly a lot more of the pie is in the hands of the people than it was for the last election. At least in my opinion. Oh, Jesus. Are we struggle streaming? We are struggle streaming. Oh, come on. Don't do this to me. Is it just this? Oh, we might need a restart. God damn it. Where are we? All right. Hold on. All right, so if you are watching the replay, what you can do is just fast forward. I'm just going to hop on my phone and we'll do a little Ask Me Anything while we restart the computer and come right back up. Just fast forward about 2 minutes. But those of you here, ask me something because this don't seem to be working. All right, so I'm gonna restart this and restart. Okay, where are we at? And then same thing, Mark over on Instagram. I'm not gonna be able to see while we're pulling it up, but I will be there shortly. All right. Okay, so Leslie said, if you're a Republican president candidate and you can't win Arizona, you are dead in the water. Georgia too, possibly, but I think the demographics in general are changing in the sense that they may not be the key swing states anymore. Well, that was fast. All right, hold on 1 second here. That was a little too easy. I don't like how easy that happened. Amber says, Stephen Richter, Bill Gates. There's a lot of collusion in the court cases against Katie Slabs. Boom. There we go. Wait, no. Okay, I almost ended the stream. Struggle streaming. Okay. That's like a heart attack. I know that was probably only like 30 seconds, but that's like, oh my God, when it's live, it feels a lot longer than that. All right, we should be back. Mark, are you there? Boom. Okay, we are back in action. Let's back this up.
But who's going to do it? You go into jail for 15. The threats that they've been with me for years, and tell what they've done to people that work for me is incredible. Yeah. Incredible. All right. The threat.
Actually, let's finish this. So Stephanie's agreeing with Amber, saying these guys, there's a lot of collusion. The court cases against Katie Slabs win. It's all nefarious. There's also cartel money involved. Yikes. The struggle is definitely real, but we roll with it and keep it moving. Let's say the Electoral College is starting to work against the elites, so they're going to have to move on to something else besides Uniparty to achieve passing corporate legislation and blocking the working class legislation. Yeah, that's a good thing. Is that not? Yeah, it's a miracle he got done what he did. If they had worked with him just a little, can you imagine? Can you imagine what we actually could have seen in terms of, real reform for the working class? And it's just sad that there's so many people who care more about that than about, helping the working class, about making America a better place for Americans. But, it is what it is.
They've done to people that work for me is incredible. Yeah. Incredible. The threats, the taking of a gentleman who's been with me for years and telling me he's going to jail for 15 years unless they say, and he went back to jail a second time. Loser. I guess they didn't want him to testify. I don't know what happened exactly, but the threats that they made to this man, they've destroyed his life. Mm-hmm. These are fascists. These are really bad people, Phil. But who's going to do it? You're going to jail for 15 years, or you're going to go for 30 days or 40 days, or you're going to go for no time, but you have to say bad things about Trump.
I mean, which would you pick if you were a sleazy lawyer? Pretty easy for that, for a Cohen type. Yeah, look, I mean, I can't personally speak to that. I am broke as ish, which is why, again, every donation comes with a treat for Morty. But to the collective, anybody who did, and 24 hours donated, what wasn't it like? I might be mixing up numbers. I want to say 12 million, but that might be his first night of TikTok followers. But either way, people love this man.
Yeah, and that's intimidation. And some of these people, you look at their age, you look at their health, and for some of it could be a death sentence. And so they make a deal, and that's what I talk about. That's what I mean when I say prosecutorial abuse. Did anyone ever approach you and try to get you to make a deal, drop out of the race, make a deal here, we'll leave you alone?
Is that this? Oh, okay. All right. That is this. Okay. So what do you think he's going to say? Because I've been saying that it's impossible. It's impossible to me that nobody came to him and was like, hey, we will drop everything. We will drop everything if you just agree not to run. I cannot imagine that would not have happened. Shout out to Mark. Said $48 million in 24 hours. Dilly to that after the guilty verdict. $48 million. There's got to be, I don't know. I mean, maybe not countries, maybe the states that don't have that much money. Maybe, I don't know. So let's see. So as I said before, democracies aren't what they seem. The donors are active in a direct democracy to pass American laws, and we are inactive in a representative democracy. So the working class never stood a chance in a liberal democracy. And I mean, I don't necessarily disagree, but we're here now. So the thing is that we just have to whatever we can nudge in our direction. That's just what it's got to be. I mean, we're here now. We're not gonna get like, what kind of government would you look for, or would you find ideal? It ain't gonna be here tomorrow. So we can definitely work towards that. But Joe Biden ain't it. Joe Biden ain't it. Whatever it is that you're looking for, Joe Biden ain't it.
Here, we'll leave you alone. What do you say to yourselves when the crowds aren't cheering? What is the hardest, darkest moment of the world?
Said this.
Search for the download to watch dates. It's free.
All right. Okay.
Did anyone ever approach you and try to get you to make a deal?
Nobody's going to give a guess? Yes or no? Did he not get any offers? He did get offers. Nobody's going to take a guess. God damn.
Drop out of the race. Make a deal here. We'll leave you alone.
Anybody take a guess?
No, they didn't, but I believe they would. If I would have offered that up, I think they know me well enough, I think.
Maybe that's it, but that is amazing. Amazing, as Jesse Lee Peterson would say. Again, maybe he's right. They just know that he would never do that. But I can't imagine that.
I really do. But, if I didn't run, as an example, I would have never had any of these lawsuits. How about I get prosecuted on a person that I have no idea who she is? I have no idea who she is. I have to pay $91 million. And that judge was just as bad, just as corrupt. A corrupt judge. I have to pay $91 million. to a woman. I have no idea who she is. She wrote a book and she made a statement in the book. And you know that case. That case is a disaster. And then but I have no idea who she is. And they said I did things. These people are corrupt and in some cases incompetent, but it's such an honor to have somebody like you see it and see it so clearly. And I knew that, I mean, I remember that years ago you were helping Oprah out and she was sued and it was having a big impact on her.
Mad cow.
And I thought it was great. And you know, Oprah used to really like me. She was here many times. Yeah. She loved my key lime pie. We have key lime pie and she loved.
She used to.
A lot of things about Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
And Roger King, as you know.
Yeah, we were here for the funeral for Roger King.
Correct, a long time ago. It's the only funeral we've ever had at Mar-a-Lago. I said, maybe we can do a new business here. We'll operate as a funeral parlor. But it was one of the most beautiful funerals in the ballroom behind us. And he was a great guy. But
so let's just say I'm a libertarian, which means I don't believe in a state. What I advocate for is, you starting your own direct democracy on your own land. The acceleration version of this is anarchism, but I'm not. I am not. So I mean, that's fair. But then the what you should be looking at is if we're in a, if you say the working class never, what's happening here? Oh my God. It's not letting me click on any of the comments. Oh, there we go. Okay. Goose Brava. I don't know what's happened, guys, but thank you for sticking with me. Anyway, so if you believe the working class never stands a chance in a liberal democracy, and we are in a liberal democracy, then what you should be doing is trying to take how what the best ideal of libertarianism in your mind that can be. How do we get as close to that as possible in this liberal democracy? Because people want a liberal democracy, or at least they think they do. They are voting to live in a liberal democracy. So that, again, that's not going to change. But if you want to move things more in the direction of things that you want, you can't make perfect the enemy of the good. Amherst, representation is missing in our republic. There's zero true accountability. We really have no way to actually sue the government for lack of representation. Imagine that. Imagine that. It would be non-stop lawsuits. Excuse me. And set up for the state, not federal. I think that idea is glorified. I agree. Marx says, unless all Americans unite as one to work together to rebuild the nation with. Yeah, I mean, I don't. That's why I'm so ready. That's why I'm so ready for Trump to be out of the picture. Not because of necessarily anything about Trump, except his effect on people. That TDS is a real thing. There's a real roadblock with people who simply just have made up their minds that they will never, ever, 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 ever go with Trump, no matter what he says. And so when somebody else comes and says the same exact shit, but they package it in a nice, neat little way that they can actually listen to. It's not that they think, that the deep state is great. They just don't know what we know. And so, I mean, we not that we all have the one idea of what the government should be, but in general, we're all for liberty and accountability and people doing their own thing, being responsible for yourself and providing for yourself. In general, I think, a lot of liberals think that way. Maybe not the younger ones, but a lot of liberals do think that way. But they have a skewed view of what that experience is actually like because of the propaganda and rhetoric that makes it seem like, well, if you're white, yeah, of course you work hard. But working hard as a white person, as a white man, that's not even close to what black people live like. And it's like, you're taking a kernel of truth. A bit of racism, and blowing it into this entire ideology, and that is the problem. This says it really depends on how you define state. I like the model of Mondragon type corporations. I've not heard of this. In places like Liechtenstein and Switzerland, over Home Depot, in places that maintain low skilled classes and crime. Can you tell me? Tell me a little bit more about this Mondragon. What is that? Say, yeah, I'm with Stephanie. I thought at least we would get that somebody would be like, please, this is all we, because that's all they want. But I think now that in retrospect, having been positive that they would have offered him some kind of deal, it must be that they're like, no, we're too far gone. At this point, we can't just let him off. We've convinced half of the world that he's worse than Hitler. We can't just be like, all right, just go home. Sad.
Funerals in the ballroom behind us. And he was a great guy, and Oprah's terrific. But once I announced I was running and I said, we have to have strong borders, we have to have this, we have to have that, we've sort of lost contact, as the expression goes. But I remember when you were very much involved in helping Oprah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's been time and time again. And that was another black letter law that you just don't do. The judge tells you, okay, you can testify, but I'm going to allow them to ask you about this person that you now owe $91 million. I'm going to allow them to ask you about this other case. I'm going to allow them to ask you about 10 contempt citations that I've given you.
All things that a normal, fair court of law would not be able to be asked.
I'm going to allow them to ask about all that stuff. What does any of that have to do with the matters at hand? And the answer is zero. That gets into the jury box if you take the witness stand. Again, that is black letter law. You can't let in unrelated things that have more prejudicial impact than probative nature. That just doesn't happen. But it happened 1, 2, 3 things right in a row,
Right.
and that gets into the jury
box. If you
box.
testify, they'll be able to ask you about all these different things. And by the way, if you say one thing if you say it was a beautiful day, as I remember it, and it was raining out, we're going to indict you for perjury.
Yeah.
But of course, Fauci, Senator Paul, you don't know what you're talking about. No sanctions, no, 1 day in front of a trial and then in front of the cameras, and then that's it.
I'll tell you what, I have a lot of lawyers that are friends and this and that. I had probably 25 guys over the course of a couple of months say, whatever you do, don't testify, because you'll say something that's a little bit off, and you will be indicted for lying, for perjury. These are evil people. These are sick, evil people.
Guys, if you agree with Donald Trump, please do me a huge favor and hit that like button. It's free, it's easy, and it helps out so very much. We got to get this message out to as many people as possible, and you can help. And even sharing a video does even more. But just a little like, it's free, it's easy. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, I would have thrown myself in front of your car to keep you from testifying.
No, I wanted to so badly. And by the way, I would have loved to have testified about those things, because it was so corrupt and so horrible. But he wouldn't have allowed me to answer the questions properly.
Thank you, Leslie.
No.
And so I would have loved to have testified. I wanted to. I'm telling you, they had to hold me back. But every lawyer that came, they'd always start to say, by the way, I'm afraid of yours, don't testify. And they saw what he was doing. They can ask you about like anything. They can do nothing to do with this case. All of these outside things.
Yeah, this is the only time in Donald Trump's life where it's like, we need you to not talk. Every other instance of Donald Trump's life, it's always behooved him to speak up and say what's on his mind. And even if people didn't like it, even if people got very angry, then it still worked out for him and it still made him into what he is. This is the only time, maybe the first time since he was a child, that him not speaking out was probably the smarter thing. Shout out to Brad C over on X. Welcome to the party. Orange Band Bad, give me my $28 Big Mac. I mean, pretty much, right? Pretty much. Hey, shout out to the Funk Master General. Don't hit your head. Look how fast he popped up for that. Thank you. No question, no comment, just pure love of the game. Let's get this out of the way and say thank you so much to the brand new sponsor of the stream. Everybody throw a like on the super chat. Thank you so very, very, very much. I really do appreciate it, man. Thank you, and welcome.
Anything they can do, nothing to do with this case. All of these outside things, and it was really an unfair trial. There's a very brilliant judge in Florida that's holding the government. It looks like, she's looking into what happened, because, they raided Mar-a-Lago. Right. And they took stuff out by the satchel. They took bags and bags and stuff. And I said, what are they taking? Are they saying what they're taking? Because they can add things. They can add the nuclear codes in there. They say, hey, he had the nuclear codes. And this was all stuff that under the Presidential Records Act, I'm allowed to do. By the way, Biden was totally exonerated. Now, I'm not sure I want that kind of an exoneration. They basically said he's incompetent to stand trial, but he could be president. Think of that. He's not sharp enough, got no memory, got no this, got no that. He's incompetent. Basically, they're saying he can't stand trial due to incompetence, but he can run for president. What's going on?
Yeah.
What are we missing here?
Yeah, it makes everybody uncomfortable about that state of affairs. And what I was concerned about with everything that happened in this New York trial is one of the big myths is that the burden of proof lies with the prosecution.
Mm-hmm.
That is the law.
Indeed, it is. So I have the next thing I'm thinking about is how I'm generally I put libs just to be as broad as possible. People who are not in favor of Donald Trump. I want to know what you think so far. We're only about a quarter of the way through. But how do you think they will perceive this? So either they it's not going to change anything about Trump, but now they're going to be against Dr. Phil. The other option is that they already they didn't go one way or the other, but now they're just going to hate both. Or they see Trump in a different light, but now because he's been platformed, they feel better about Trump because they already hated him, but they feel worse about Dr. Phil. So let me know what you think, and if it's something different, let me know in the comments. Leslie said this case will get appealed, but I don't know about the 90 others. Deep State owns the chessboard. Indeed, it does. Yeah, I don't know how far they're. I mean, I think that it does make sense that on a long enough timeline, it should get to the Supreme Court and they should throw this out very easily. The problem is that's not going to happen before the election. So we're relying on the very woke state Supreme Court to overturn it, which I don't think is going to happen. I don't know what the timeline for these things generally is like. I would assume that either they have the option to fast track it or purposely hold it up. Either way. And of course, the deep state would want to hold it back, but not looking good. Fuckmaster said they took out bags and bags of my wife's lingerie. Oh, goddamn.
Is that the burden of proof lies with the prosecution.
Mm-hmm.
That is the law. But I can tell you, after years and years and years of trial, the truth is that the jury sits there and says,
you wouldn't be here if you didn't do something. Prove me wrong.
I'm looking at all this, and if we're not down here for the reason they say we're down here, somebody needs to give me an alternative explanation of why we are down here. So if we're not down here because of what the prosecutors are telling us, then what's the alternative story? What's the alternative explanation?
And in this case, usually, if there is another explanation, then that means, okay, maybe not innocent, but you're not guilty. But in this case, it was like, okay, if you don't think it's this crime or that, it doesn't really matter what crime, as long as you think that there is a crime. Convict. Shout out to Mercy Choke. Welcome to the party. So don't shoot the messenger. I guess this is aimed at Leslie. Said, but you're wrong. Switzerland is a police state. Homelessness is even criminalized, and it absolutely has a class system. I've lived there and did my post-grad work at Neuchâtel? Neuchâtel? Isn't there an F in that? Neuchâtel? Wait a minute. There was my mom used to always, okay. I thought it was the same thing. My mom used to always buy this instead of, where is it? The Philadelphia Neuchâtel cheese instead of cream cheese. Or was it this? Is it just a regular one? Anyway, okay, this one has it right there. That's what I thought we were talking about. Oh, but I guess that's a different word. You learn something new every day. I don't know. That's just another example. It's like, Mom, can't you just get the goddamn cream cheese? Just get the goddamn cream cheese. No, the Neuchâtel is 70 cents cheaper. Anyway, diving back in.
Prosecutors are telling us, then what's the alternative story? What's the alternative explanation? And when you get muzzled in the way that this judge muzzled this case, they're sitting there saying, what's the rest of the story? You're not allowed.
Doesn't matter.
To testify because you're in jeopardy if you do. They let all of this other stuff in that should never get into the jury box. And so, the scales get tipped. And it gets very, very difficult to get even one juror because there's not an alternative story that if you could tell without being in peril, if you can tell without being intimidated, it would be a very different situation. The burden legally is on the prosecution, but logically
You're
with the
guilty
jury,
until proven innocent.
that's exactly the truth.
I can tell you that's the truth with me.
That's how.
It's the truth with everybody. It's the truth with everybody. And this goes back to something, I bring this up relatively often. And I hope Lee, I wish I remembered his last name. I don't remember, or if it was a guy or girl. I assume it was a guy. But anyway, but that person, Lee, who used to be here all the time and very early on asked me, some of you may have been here, which do you think is more important? Which do you think is more important in politics? Policy or feelings? And at first I was like, well, obviously policy. But then I had to think about it and realize that it doesn't really matter how good your policies are. If you don't get your message out, if you don't speak to people, if you don't get to people who are willing to listen, then your message doesn't matter. And so in the same way, well, technically, we have this innocent until proven guilty. Yeah, maybe technically by the letter of the law, but certainly in the court of public opinion. But even in, the actual court, like they may still have the burden of proof, but the assumption is still that, hey, you're here for a reason. So this is saying, yes, Switzerland has been an oligarchy for a while, but historically they've been very libertarian. Okay. What I mean is communities take care of each other with shared goals instead of individual goals held by the elites. That kind of sounds like communism. I don't know. How is this better? How is this better? Like, this is communities taking care, like, and again, I mean, if we're talking about, small 150 person group things, then fine. But yeah, communalism, it's communism. It's just not going to work for any group. It's not just Americans, but specifically a group of it's the side that does not scale up. We've seen that over and 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 over again. It's just capitalism may not be perfect, but it's better than communism.
Proven innocent.
That's exactly the truth.
I can tell you that's the truth with me.
That's how it plays out. And I did a focus group about this when I did a show on this on Merritt Street, and I had 250 people did a focus group, and I said, and overwhelmingly the people were in your favor. But I found those that had questions, and I said, what is your question? They said, where there's smoke, there's fire. Yeah. I didn't hear the other part of it.
I'm sitting here, and you've asked me indirectly a couple of questions. They're so simple to answer. I'd love to. Yeah. And yet if I do, this goes. Oh,
and logic goes well for communism. I'm not claiming to be, some economic, I don't know the ins and outs of why Marx said this and that doesn't work. I'm not the guy to debate on it. But I can clearly see any debate I've ever seen of anybody who knows what they're talking about on both sides. Logic does not fare well for communism. And unless you can point out a commune, something larger than 150 people that it ever has existed, then I don't know what we're even talking about. And sure, you can get to the idea, well, we don't really have capitalism. We have this oligarchical crony capitalism. Sure, I'm not in favor of how all this works. I want all of this to change. I'm more in line with, private ownership and getting government out of the way. But that's a much bigger discussion about why capitalism is, or whether capitalism is better or worse than communism. I'm happy to agree to disagree. I'm not the guy to debate on that. I don't have the specific knowledge to explain to you why this person who has a great critique of capitalism, which I might agree with, doesn't necessarily extrapolate to we should be communists. I'm not the person to tell you that, but and maybe you could do that. So, if you want to make a video on here's why the Indian Jesus is wrong about capitalism, I'll happily react to it. But That's my bias. I'm pro-capitalism, anti-communism.
A couple of questions. They're so simple to answer. I'd love to. And yet, if I do, this guy's he's willing to throw you in jail. Okay.
I'm surprised nobody else is responding here. Nobody has anything to say about communism all of a sudden.
An appointed judge, acting. He's an acting judge, appointed. And he's willing to throw you, and he's so conflicted. It's so sad. But, you know, you do things for your country. And I view it, I think if my country weren't involved, because people say, the two questions, I get these questions from very tough guys like you, the biggest guys on Wall Street, people that you read about, but they're tough men and women. But I have the question asked often is number one question I get, how do you stand it? How do you do it? How do you get up in the morning and put your clothing on and go to work? I do get that because people don't envy it. And the other one I get is, will they do it again? Meaning, will they cheat? Will they do it again? Will it happen again?
Well, I have a different question than.
Interesting. A different question. What could that be? Leslie said, what I mean is before steam in the 1730s, no one could take all the profit away from a tradesman that made product all by themselves. In other words, a capitalist could not operate. Okay, but we have steam and other powers now. So that becomes irrelevant, does it not? Mercy said Switzerland is the primary seat of world power. Nothing neutral about it. It's the globalist elitist base. They have some of the most brutal, infamous police in the world. Does not sound good. Leslie said you could own capital, land and machinery, but you could not capitalize on labor outside of slavery. Okay, fair enough.
That how question. My question is why. I understand how. I know you got a thick skin. You're not one of those people that's afflicted with the need to be loved by strangers.
Is he though? Because I feel like that's his whole personality. I think he's joking, but I feel like this is his whole personality.
You got a thick skin. You're not one of those people that's afflicted with the need to be loved by strangers. I get that.
I think that's true.
My question.
That was an amazing troll for the libs on behalf of Dr. Phil. You got to give it up when you got to give it up. You got to give it up. You got to give it up. Oh, okay. So it's not just me. It's not just me. Okay. I was wondering where you were, but whatever. We have I need you here. But glad to know that it's not just me. Welcome to the party. What was I just going to say? Damn, so I guess everybody just filters in after Front Porch. All right, I'm not bringing anybody else on this channel ever again. Welcome. What was I saying? Oh, yes, an amazing troll. No, Rumble is also not working. There is something going down. I did, again, let you know in Discord, but you were too busy with somebody else. I just want you to love me and not anybody else. I'm completely kidding. So if you just joined us from the Front Porch Conservative, this is an amazing troll on behalf of the libs by Dr. Phil.
This question. I understand how. I know you got a thick skin. You're not one of those people that's afflicted with the need to be loved by strangers. I get that.
I think that's true.
My question is not how do you do it. My question is why do you do it? Why do you? Because let's face it. I mean, you're a billionaire. You got a great family. You're a very dedicated father. People may not see this in you a lot because you keep that kind of private.
Did I skip it?
But my question to you is why do you subject yourself to this?
So there's a movement in this country.
Did I miss it? Wait, I'm just gonna, there's no way I missed it.
You got it.
I think that's true.
Not one of those.
Okay, right here.
I have a different question than that how question. My question is why. I understand how. I know you got a thick skin. You're not one of those people that's afflicted with the need to be loved by strangers. I get that.
I think that's true.
If I'm a liberal, I'm clipping that and playing that everywhere because that is hilarious. That is hilarious. Shout out to M169. Welcome to the party. Welcome. Leslie said you can call this campaign for smaller families with less money and income as capitalism. As long as low-skilled classes are maintained, it is capitalism. Men did not call themselves capitalists until the 1700s. All right. I mean, you're saying a lot of things, but I don't understand why what does this have to do with what we were talking about how capitalism, or rather how communism is not a good system of economics, flat out, whether people are calling themselves this or that and that and that and that. Give me the bottom line.
One of those people that's afflicted with the need to be loved by strangers. I get that.
I think that's true.
My question is not how do you do it. My question is why do you do it? Why do you? Because let's face it. I mean, you're a billionaire. You got a great family. You're a very dedicated father. People may not see this in you a lot because you keep that kind of private.
Is that Barron? Is that Barron? You might, of course. God damn. He just turned 18, right? Damn. I remember seeing the, I mean, maybe that's not him. I don't know. But I remember seeing the pictures when Trump was first running. And it was like a 10-year-old kid. And like, wow. I just saw something that was like, do you realize in 6 months, 2020 will be 5 years ago. The 2020s, the roaring 20s are half over. God damn. God damn. 6, 7. Yeah, I mean, yeah, because Trump's a big boy too, right? He's like 6'3", isn't he? Damn. A big boy. A big boy. So Leslie said men did not call themselves capitalists until the 1700s. So capitalism calls socialism, communism, mutualism, Marxism, Bolshevism, and Kenyanism. I don't know how to say that. Keynesianism. Okay, sure, fine. And Zippy said socialism is just elected kings by nobles running things. Communism makes the state God. Exactly. This is where I was coming to, is that before you're saying you don't believe in the state, you don't want there to be a state. You're a libertarian looking towards towards anarchism. Yet you are cheering for a country that is very tyrannical. I don't make no sense. What is real socialism? Oh, we've never tried it for real before. Workers of a company, not a country, owning the means of production. This means the workers are the investors of a private company. So where does the capital to start this company come from? The government. So the government owns everything. Not convinced. So what they're talking about over here is, just why Trump? Why are you going through all this? And this was a common argument the first time around. And I've told you guys how I would make the argument to my dad that because he would say, oh, well, Trump doesn't need to do this. He's already rich. He's already loved. He's he's on TV. Da, 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 da. And I was dumb enough and ignorant enough and willing to buy into mainstream bullshit enough to say that well, Trump, he's just got such a big ego. He's won at everything else, so he's got to win at America too. That's all. And I genuinely believe that. Now, obviously, I took some time to think about the stupid things that were in my head and the stupid things that were being told to me. But this time around, the man's already been president. You already did it. And fine. Maybe nobody's offered you a deal to drop all the charges if you don't run. But I am sure if you had offered it, they definitely have been like, all right, yep, let's do this. Done. And so this time around, the idea of why are you doing this? There really is no reasonable answer except I care about this country. Zippy said socialism, like communism, only works on paper. Dylan agrees. The workers are the investors. Okay, well, where do they get the capital to invest? Because if that was already a thing, then why aren't workers investing in things now? And you can say that that's because of the perversions of capitalism. I'm not saying our capitalist system is by any means perfect, but it's not because of the fact that the government doesn't own everything. Okay, and that's also how many people how many people work at Mondrigo? So we're talking about 80,000 people around the globe. So, not remotely. Let's just say not remotely. Let's see. There's a small town in Basque, Spain, largest. So currently consists of 102 federative cooperatives employing over 73,000 people. Okay. So again, this is just like, and that's not even all the people in one place. But let's include it. Let's include it and round up to 80,000 people. 80,000 people versus what is it up to? I mean, especially with the illegal immigrants, like 300 million people. Is that right? That sounds wrong. But whatever. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. Mercy Joke said the past 7 years or so have been a total blur to me. Time goes by faster the older you get. Though, so enjoy it whilst you are young. Yeah, and I mean, you know, a 3-year pause on everything isn't going to help. So he said socialism is a collective process where the collective sets the rules, a dead end. So he said socialism has zero to do with government. I know this because Pierre Leroux and Saint Simon were anarchists. Okay. I'm fair enough. I mean, I guess we're just gonna agree to disagree. I don't know what to tell you. Funkmaster General said socialism doesn't look good on paper either. I converted a Bernie bro by giving him the manifesto. There you go. Zippy said, even come on. I know you want to. There you go. Even if the workers had the stock, they would sell the stocks off for short-term gain, like they do all the time today with publicly traded companies. Why wouldn't that be the again? Why wouldn't that be the case? That's what I'm saying. And I don't want to make the whole thing about socialism versus capitalism, as 99% of the people watching are going to be pro-capitalism, even if we agree that the American version of capitalism in 2024 is far from perfect. But again, why is he doing this? There is no reasonable answer except that he genuinely cares about the country. That's right. Don't forget, every donation comes with a treat for Morty.
You're a very dedicated father. People may not see this in you a lot because you keep that kind of private. But my question to you is, why do you subject yourself to this?
So there's a movement in this country. It's called MAGA. And Biden's always fighting it. We will stop MAGA. MAGA is Make America Great Again. And we would...
All right, we're gonna put a pin in this, and then we're gonna move on. So I feel like we're talking about two different things. I'm talking about direct democracy, and you're talking about elitists running government. Do you think I'm for elitists? No, but I think if you have the direct democracy, then it turns into elitism. That's where that ends up. It's like saying, like, I want to throw a person off a roof, but I don't want them to die. Now, maybe that is super, super wrong. And if you can tell me why that particular analogy is wrong, then I'll continue. But we can't make the whole conversation about this.
MAGA is Make America Great Again. And we were doing, I had an administration that was a tremendous success. Even enemies. I mean, we had the greatest economy in history. We had the best job numbers in history. That's why I'm doing so well with the Black and Hispanic vote. They had the best job numbers they've ever had. We were doing things that were incredible. And I was going through Russia hoax. I was going through the impeachment stuff, all of that. And
it never stopped. It never stopped. It was day one until the very, very end. Even though at the end it was Project Warp Speed, which they all sucked off when it was their time. Even though they still turned the entire time he was fighting something on his back foot. And again, now you might make the argument that comes with the territory. Fair enough. But let's take that into account.
In one way, I jokingly said, somebody said, can you imagine what he could have done? Because I had one of the most successful.
Yeah, just like the Chaz and the Chop, right? Those lasted so long.
Presidencies. And yet I was constantly fighting off the radical left lunatics. They are deranged. They are. It's like a derangement syndrome. But
like a Trump derangement syndrome. Oh, I'm here all week, folks. Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern.
I actually said, maybe in some ways I did better because I showed something. But maybe if I had too much time on my hands, it would have gone too far, and the administration wouldn't have been as successful as it was. When you look at our job numbers, I rebuilt the military, largest tax cuts ever, largest tax cuts, bigger than the Reagan tax cuts,
but higher
largest
revenue.
Regulation cuts ever.
I'm staying with my why question, because look at this. Everybody calls it inflation, but affordability. When we talk about gasoline under your administration, average $2.57 a gallon. Under Biden, $3.61, 40% more.
So let's take a look at these numbers again. Just affordability under Trump. Now, again, we are factoring in the fact that COVID happened, but gas is up 40%. Homes are up 31%, and the interest rates are up almost 40% as well. So, I mean, again, the other day when I think it was David who was here, well, how do you explain this, that, and that? In the same exact way that I don't care how Trump failed with the military industrial complex. I don't care. You failed. That is your job. And you may have reasons that I'm willing to listen to. But at the end of the day, that was your job and you failed. And so you may have reasons why the economy sucks. But that's still your responsibility. That's still your responsibility. Somebody said, how did they change his charge from an expired misdemeanor into a felony with no statute of limitations? Magic, or as they like to call it, lawfare. Lawfare.
7 a gallon. Under Biden, $3.61, 40% more. Under your administration, homes average $320,000. Under the Biden administration, 31% more, $420,000. Under your administration, interest rates 3.8 average. Under the Biden administration, 39% more at 5.3%.
Yeah, he definitely dealt with a lot more than the average president. But there again, that he knew that going in to some extent, maybe not the degree to which he would be treated, but the campaign was a clear signal that people aren't going to want to work with you.
Okay, now let's look at the border. Under you, average 1.7 million border crossings. Their official number is 6.
Guys, we got 15 people in here. Can I just get three more likes? 3 more likes. Thank you so much.
4, that's from Homeland Security. It's actually about 13 million because I know I've been to the border. I've talked to the border guards down there, Brandon Judd. I've talked to Jason Jones. I've talked to the people that actually know the numbers. They say it's between 10 and 13 million. So my point is, when you look at the actual numbers, plus the things you just talked about, lower taxes, higher tax revenue, you look at that and you would say, my God, he should be running unopposed. I mean, why?
And these numbers, I appreciate it, and these numbers are really, I don't know how many.
Very conservative.
As an example, I had gasoline down to $1.87, not $2.57. Right. It's now almost at $4. It's going to be at $5 very shortly. Right. It's going way up.
I took very conservative numbers so people couldn't argue.
Well, interest rates, I was at 2.6%. They have 3.8, and now they're at 9%, 10%. You can't get money. So we did a great job.
Okay, so here's the question. Most people look at this from a standpoint of, they ask themselves the question, is my life better under this administration or is it better under this administration? My quality of life, my ability to pay.
Obviously, under Trump, life was way better.
Pay for my children's lunches, tennis shoes, getting them to the dentist, getting all of the different things that go to quality of life. And when we look at that, it's not even a close call. Right. So why are people so energized against President Donald J. Trump?
Well, TDS.
I think it's, to a certain extent, it's habit, not necessarily against me. I think Democrats vote out of habit. I'll give you an example. I was the best president for Israel ever. Golan Heights, all of the things I did for Israel, and yet I get less than 50% of the votes. It's shocking to me. And Biden's...
Well, yeah, because they're all on the side of Palestine. What you mean? Like, of course. Of course. Brad said Pelosi admitting on video she takes responsibility for the J6 fiasco should be a bigger story. All the blame went to Trump. Well, it should be a bigger story because I did not even hear about this. So I need to see that. She said admitted on video. So Pelosi, wow. Okay. Let's see. 2 days ago.
We have responsibility, Terry. We did not have any accountability for what was going on there, and we should have. This is ridiculous. You're going to ask me in the middle of the thing when they've already breached the inaugural stuff should we call the Capitol Police? I mean, the National Guard? Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with?
They thought that they had sufficient
No,
resources.
there's not a question of how they have, but they don't know. They clearly didn't know, and I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for more. I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for more. And I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for more. And I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for more.
I mean, god damn. You are absolutely right. How is that not everywhere? I mean, granted, it is on, it was on Force, but I'm just saying, like, the fact that I didn't even know about that. Why is not everybody talking about that? That is insane. Wow. Another conspiracy turned truth. Another conspiracy turned truth. What else can we expect next? Thank you for that, Brad. God damn. I'm a little taken back. Let's dive back in here.
And yet, I get less than 50% of the votes. It's shocking to me. And Biden's a disaster, and Obama was a disaster for Israel with the Iran nuclear deal that he approved, all the, which was basically a path toward nuclear weapons. And I say, why? And I say, it's habit. They're used to voting for Democrats. Black people are used to voting for Democrats, but they're coming off it. They're smart. They're seeing what's happening. They're seeing criminal justice reform. They're seeing the black colleges and universities. I got it funded. They're seeing all of the things that I've done. Nobody could do what I did. I say that, and people sometimes smile, but it's actually true.
It is true. So Leslie's saying we, in talking with Zippy and myself about this, that we're mixing up Marxism and Bolshevism, and that may be fair. But if you are not able to articulate why those are different, and you're the one proposing the idea, then that falls on you. So then you need to explain why he's thinking of the wrong thing and how they're different, and why what he's saying is addressed by that difference.
I'm the best president for black people since Abraham Lincoln. And black people are seeing that. And we have numbers now that as a Republican, I don't think anybody's ever had. Well, I hope they come out and vote for me.
I was just in Jerusalem and interviewed Prime Minister Netanyahu. Yeah. He said that the Abraham Accords, which you achieved, he said he didn't have the words to describe what it
this girl without being disrespectful
presented for Israel in terms of security, in terms of the ability to bring about peace and stability to that region.
It's very nice, by the way, that you say that. And by the way, great for the Arab community also. It was great for both.
Yeah,
and they're working so well. The only problem is we had 4 countries signed, real leaders. I would have had everybody signed up. I would have had Iran signed up. People laugh when I say that. Iran was broke. I said, anybody buys from Iran, you can't do business with the U.S.
Based. And yeah, Sammy said nobody else would do those things. I'm sure others could have. Absolutely. And I think that, that's so true. But I think it was a miss for him not to point out that, to point this out. Not only that Biden, who's in office right now, but this could have been done by, whoever. And there's a lot of things that people can get done and choose not to. Yeah. And again, I'm not an economist, so I'm happy to be proven wrong. But this is just always what I've seen when it comes to any type of worker co-op with the putting power into an entity that doesn't have a mechanism to prevent it from being centralized. It sounds like this would, again, good on paper, but not in practice. And again, maybe I'm wrong. So, again, if Leslie, you want to make a video or write a thing on how I'm so terribly wrong, then I will happily go through it. And if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But I'm not convinced.
It was broke. I said, anybody buys from Iran, you can't do business with the U.S. Iran was broke. They were down to almost no money. They had no money to fund Hamas or Hezbollah. They had no money.
They do now.
Were broke. They would have made a deal within a week after the election. That result was very dangerous for our country. But we did great things, and I think that's what people see. People want to go back to where we were.
You had high-level appointee positions that you didn't fill,
Right.
and thousands more mid-level positions that you didn't fill, and generated over $4 trillion in tax revenue for the first time ever,
Right.
with tax cuts. Lower
$4 trillion just in what Vivek has been talking about, getting rid of these agencies entirely, and I'm just guessing it's probably in that area. But talk about draining the swamp. I think that gets us somewhere.
lower tax rates, higher tax
It
revenues.
brought business into the country.
So why are people so energized against you? Are you getting out messaged?
I think, no, I really.
You are, though. You are getting out messaged, and that's the problem. That you have to take accountability for the fact that you are being out messaged. You have the better ideas, and maybe you at this point you've reached more people, but the people who you need to reach at this point, they are out. The people against you, they are being out messaged, or you know what I mean. They are, the messaging against you is better than the messaging for you, for those people.
I believe it's 100 years. As an example, with African Americans, for 100 years, the Democrats have run the cities. 100 years. I used to say 50. They said, you're wrong. I said, you have to be kidding. It's 100 years. It's a habit. They get used to it, but they're learning that habit's being broken in a lot of different ways. I also think you have a fake news that doesn't report it the way they should be reporting it. Look, the news has been proven to be totally fake. And it's 95% on the other side. That's the thing I don't understand. Why do people want open borders where millions of people have come?
Votes. And let's see, I'm glad we can agree that Stalin, Lenin, and Mao sucked. I think we can dilly on that one. Dilly. I mean, I think the idea of just getting back to a more pure version, maybe not even completely pure laissez-faire capitalism, but getting closer to that is always going to be better than switching, if for no other reason than we already have a capitalistic system in place. And so the growing pains of a different system are not going to be there. And so if the ideal version of what we already have will be good, then let's work towards the ideal version of what we already have instead of something else, because then you have to change the whole system. And even if it is better in the long run, then you have a lot of growing pains that if not necessary, unless you're saying that we have to not be a capitalist country, we need to be, this commune thing. Unless you're saying that we cannot exist as a capitalist, which again, you may be, that may be a reasonable position, but that has to be your position.
I don't understand. Why do people want open borders where millions of people have come into our country, and you see what's happening to the crime rate? A stat came out the other day that's scary. In Venezuela, Caracas, different cities, they've moved many of these criminals out into the United States and now happily in a location near you, right near your house.
Yeah,
Hey, shout out to Marjorie. Welcome to the party. We're only about halfway through. I would suggest, well, I guess you're not there yet, but I would suggest just hop in and catch the replay later. It's a lot more fun when you are live. But either way, welcome to the party.
Venezuela, the Congo, they're emptying the prisons.
At the Congo, we have many people coming out of the prisons of the Congo. But the prison populations are way down all over the world. Nobody wants to talk about it. Prison population and mental institutions, something you deal with a lot. You know more about a mental institution than I do. That's your world. It's what you do better than anybody as far as I'm concerned. You know the population of mental institutions is way down because they've moved a lot of the most seriously ill people into our country. And Venezuela just announced that they're 72% down in crime from 2 years ago. Think of that. Because they moved their, I mean, you don't have to be a genius to realize they moved their prisoners out, but they moved their gangs. All the gang members are now in the United States, happily living in the United States. The United States of America has become a dumping ground because of a very mentally deficient president
Yep. Yep. So, I mean, Marjorie, all you really missed, I'd still say you should check it out. But we did take a lot of time. Leslie was bringing up ideas about, we should move towards communalism, not communism, communalism. We spent a lot of time on that. But as far as the debate, really, it was just kind of, acknowledging that there was a lot of unfairness with Trump. And there was a lot that can go, there's a lot that was thrown at Trump that could and should have been thrown at other people. And I should have started this and then Stephanie Miller was saying that all the things that that Trump did get done, maybe nobody else would do those things, but definitely others could have done and chose not to. And just the fact that, hey, why is he doing this if he doesn't love America? Zibby said, in my opinion, capitalism's great flaws is mass centralization, fueled by flaky fake. Try to say that 3 times fast. Flaky fake fiat monopoly money. You have to deal with the forces that allow insane levels of centralization. IP rights is a black hole. We can tweak IP rights to open up more local trade to fend off centralization. That's pretty much step 1 and step 2. Fair enough. Stephanie said, the fact that Dems can't speak positively about themselves without trashing Trump. During Biden's impeachment, they said Trump's name way more. Not surprising at all. Okay, so now I'll say hello, welcome to the party. All right.
The United States of America has become a dumping ground because of a very mentally deficient president. And it's not him. I don't believe it's him. I do think he knows what's going on. I think he's sort of an evil guy, but he's not at the top of his game, and he never was very good at it. If you look at his foreign policy for years and years and years, you look at how bad he was on the crime bill in the 1990s, how he's been bad at everything, and he got lucky. Look, he ran 3 or 4 times when he would be, let's say, in normal shape, in good shape. He failed. He got it when shouldn't be here. He shouldn't be here. And he
Shout out to Zippy, we're over Strange over on the Rumble rant. Yeah, Rumble being dumb, but coming through for your boy. Anyway, thank you so very, very much. Everybody put Zippy in the chat. Thank you, sir.
He failed. He got it when shouldn't be here. He shouldn't be here. And he's dealing with President Xi.
Yeah, there's a guy I know. He was just... Who was it? The son of the president. Dylan said, come on. Dylan said, let's not forget how one of Biden's 2020 slogans was Biden. Catchy? Nah.
Who I know very well. And he's dealing with Putin, who I know very well. And he's dealing with all of these leaders of these countries they don't like the United States. They don't like what it represents. And they are at the top of their game. They are vicious. They love their country, or they want success. You define it any way you want. We've become a failing nation. We're a nation that's in tremendous trouble. We have months ago, where we have somebody negotiating for us and dealing for us who is not up to par. He's not, and I'm not even saying now. I think 25 years ago he wasn't up to par, but he's dealing with President Xi of China. He's dealing with President Putin of Russia. He's dealing with Kim Jong-un of North Korea. He's dealing with very tough people that really are at the top of their game. I know them all. I know many more than that.
And he's just like, come on, man. It's the thing, and the thing. Zippy's, I genuinely, trusting you on this whole IP thing that I still don't fully understand. I'm still waiting for you to come join the after party and tell me what the fuck you're talking about. Because I genuinely don't understand how property rights can work without IP. I do see how IP rights can or do bring us closer to centralization, but I'm not sure what the alternative is. So I need to hear that from you. But one of these days. Dylan said, all I can say is I am not going to take anyone who unironically had a ride-in with Biden on them seriously. And nor should you.
That really are at the top of their game. I know them all. I know many more than that. And our country's in tremendous danger of World War III. Our country's, you look at what's going on with Ukraine now, you see what's happening.
Yeah, this is a good point that he's not sounding like an ass. And I mean, I think this is a, I don't want to say low stakes, but it's a soft, I mean, it's a pretty soft interview. You know, there's nothing really hard hitting here. And so it's easy for, you know, him to sound good and not have to, you know, be that bull in the china shop. But hey, I'll take whatever I can get. You see? Oh yeah, this crazy guy. You make a good point. Shout out to the Buckmaster General for the comment of the night. Said Biden slogan. Oh, Biden slogan 2024. Dilly to that. Love it. Love it. All right.
War III. Our country's, you look at what's going on with Ukraine now, you see what's happening, where they're talking about nuclear. They're bringing out the N-word, as I say. And they're talking about nuclear weapons, and they're talking about things that were never, in my White House, nobody ever uttered the word nuclear. Nuclear is a...
Oh, he should have used it then. That would have been perfect. In my White House, nobody ever uttered the N-word. That would have been beautiful. That would have been beautiful. But well done. Well done. So he said, I've noticed it in other speeches. Yeah, it's definitely a different Trump this time around. I think very early on, or maybe even if I'm thinking towards the end of, like, I might be even thinking the Biden Trump debate from before the 2020 election. But either way, it did seem like he was going to come out and be that same Trump. And then he got feedback. And it was like, oh, wait, whoa. This isn't Hillary. This is a different game. You got to slow roll this, and whatever. But I agree. Mercy said the emptying of institutions, that house, the criminally insane, into Western countries is a frightening proposition. I work for BOP, FBOP, and the DS. What are those? And American prisons are already much more dangerous than, and we'll come back to that. Brad says Kamala will save us. Puts head in oven. Please no. Please no. Well, it's not to less letters than what he would say. Yeah, I mean that's yeah, it's spot on. As we said, IP rights creates welfare and slow trade via. I mean, it's not something you're gonna be able to explain it here. Like I need a full. We need to have a full conversation. And as a member of the channel, you get full access to the Discord server. So we will do it there. Dylan said, not as much as a cat or dog stepping on a keyboard, but just enough to seem like a robot malfunction. Yep. What are y'all saying? Oh, at the the fraud case, and that's when I really noticed. I think the charges got real for him. That makes sense. But I feel like I noticed it before that as well. And again, it being a feedback type of thing, where it's like, you know, like I'm just gonna go be Trump, and then it's like, that's not having the same effect. Why? And then actually looking at that, actually taking some PR advice, actually listening to somebody. Thank you. Okay. So what are we saying here? So the emptying of institutions that house the criminally insane into gotcha. Yeah, so just letting crazy people out is very dangerous. Indeed. Agreed. I think it's not that crazy to me, but it definitely seems like that's going to be the next big thing. That if you're going to be the president, like mental health has to be the forefront, and not this like, oh, I think I have ADHD because like I wasn't sure if I locked the door, so I had to go check it twice. No, we're talking about legitimately crazy people who are out on the streets because they don't have the mental faculties to live a normal life. We need that. Is what our taxes should be going to. That if I'm going to be paying for taxes, which again, I would rather private institutions open up, but that's all the conversation. But we need to take care of those people. And when I say take care of those people, I don't necessarily mean give them free stuff. I mean legitimately take care of those people, because that will be cheaper and better than just giving them free stuff. To be some money, many comic book creators got shafted by corporations getting pennies for their trouble. I mean, but contracts are a thing. If you sign a bad contract, that's not really on IP rights. That's why, again, I need a full conversation about it. All these things they're very disjointed. Got that one. Marjorie said, I'm worried our votes don't really matter anymore. I don't have much faith left in our system. I'll still vote and hope the election is legitimate. Yeah, that's the only way to do it. That's the only way to do it. And there's a lot, the old saying, well, if voting actually worked, they wouldn't let us do it. Maybe, but it definitely doesn't work. Not voting, as we saw in 2022. Maybe they still could have renege things, whatever the way that they want. But certainly, if there's people in physical people going to physical places or using these physical pieces of paper, it's a lot harder to obfuscate. I think. Yep. All right, back in here.
In my White House, and they're talking about nuclear weapons, and they're talking about things that were never in my White House. Nobody ever uttered the word nuclear. Nuclear is a very bad word because of the power of weaponry. And we have a man that should not be dealing, and we're going to end up in a nuclear war. We're going to end up in World War III with this guy. And if he...
Wait, is he just... I want to make sure.
They're talking, where they're talking about...
Because I don't want the message that nuclear power is the same thing as nuclear weapons. And it seems like he conflated the two and just said nuclear is a bad word, all of that good stuff. And I don't like that.
Nuclear, they're bringing out the N word, as I say, and they're talking about nuclear weapons, and they're talking about things that were never in my White House. Nobody ever uttered the word nuclear. Nuclear is a very bad word.
Yeah, I don't like that. Nuclear is not a bad word. In the context of war and weapons, yes, nuclear is a bad word. But there are other contexts that are extremely relevant, especially as all the COVID stuff moves away and the climate change stuff is going to rear its head. So a little ding there. I get what he's saying, but I think, again, this is something that can easily, go back to the institutions. Getting these people, it's a lot safe. It's safer. It's cheaper. It's better. It all around. But yeah, with this this generalization of nuclear, that nuclear is a bad word. Anything nuclear is bad. That's going to come back to bite you. I guarantee you, this clip specifically comes back when the climate change argument comes up, and he is in office, and they're trying to, he's trying to say, oh, nuclear is great. And they're going to pull this.
Nobody ever uttered the word nuclear. Nuclear is a very bad word because of the power of weaponry. And we have a man that...
I understand that. That's what I just said. But what I also said is that people are going to clip that. And everybody who didn't watch this, or everybody who forgot what was in this and forgot the context, when they just hear...
A very bad word. Nobody ever uttered the word nuclear. Nuclear is a very bad word.
When they just hear that, and everybody's talking about climate change, and everybody's talking about, well, we should do even Trump thinks it's a bad word. We shouldn't do this, that. It's nuclear. I almost got my ass beat because I couldn't hear the difference when I was learning it. And my mom was like, "It's not nuclear. It's not nuclear. It's nuclear." And I was like, "Nuclear? What do you mean?" And she almost beat my ass because she thought I was fucking around. I was like, "No, I really don't hear the difference." Until I did. How can you sign a good contract? How can you sign a good contract when you're offered money now and you need that money badly? Discipline. That's not an excuse. When a contract works based on a salary job where anything you make is not yours, which some companies are doing now, even for normal jobs. I understand contracts. The trouble is, it's like socialism. It does not play out well in the real world. But yeah, rabbit hole again. Yeah, they don't sign don't sign bad contracts. That has nothing to do with if you don't sign a contract that is not ideal for you, then okay. So let's put it this way: unless the situation is that even if you know the ins and outs of a particular contract and it is not ideal for you, yet you are unable to choose to not sign it, okay, then we can have a conversation. But right now, if you need the money badly, then drive Uber, do DoorDash, sell some, well, don't sell some drugs, but sell something. Not an excuse. Sorry.
As nobody ever uttered the word nuclear. Nuclear is a very bad word because of the power of weaponry. And we have a man that should not be dealing, and we're going to end up in a nuclear war. We're going to end up in World War III with this guy. And if the 5 months is a long time. We have 5 months to go.
I mean, I do have it right here, but yes, I like the sense of it.
Before the election. Now it's even a little bit less. It's getting to be very close. Remember, you have early voting in September 22nd. You know, Pennsylvania goes September 22nd. Yeah. So
you should vote the very first day and opportunity you have, and then on November 5th, you should go into your voting station, whatever they call it. Go in there and make sure your vote has been counted. That is how it should. The problem was the messaging about how bad these mail-in ballots were, which they were, caused people to not use them. And then everybody's trying to vote on the same day, which is what it should be. But because it was a lot easier to be like, okay, here's what everything is on the Democrat side because they've already voted. Then it was a bad move to I don't know if it was a bad move to necessarily because I'm trying to think about, like, once a decision is made, the messaging was still that these are bad. Yeah, the polling place, go in the polling place and make sure that your mail-in ballot has been mailed in and counted for. And if not, then you have the second opportunity to make sure you've done what you needed to do. But I think the messaging of these mail-in ballots being a bad thing caused people to just not use them. And then even if it's 3% of all voters, even if it's 3%, that's a lot of people who on election day, something came up and they couldn't go. That's a lot of people. You factor in the 17% with the Hunter Biden laptop story. That's the whole election.
We have early voting in September 22nd. You know, Pennsylvania goes September 22nd. Yeah. So it's really less, quite a bit less. But I really believe it's a very dangerous time because I think they're making moves. They love him as our president. They don't respect him. They think he's weak and incompetent. Now, one thing I'll say, he's surrounded by a lot of fascists and communists, but a lot of fascists, and they're young and they're smart. And that's who's running our country.
Well, let me ask you something then. Let's assume that you inherit a situation where American bombs are being used inside of Russia. Let's assume that you inherit that.
Very reasonable. Very reasonable.
We could wind up with World War III if we're not there already and it just hasn't been labeled yet.
He said it. I was going to say it, but he already said it.
We've never been so close to World War III as we are right now.
There could be 100,000 or more potential terrorists on American soil right now today, given what's happened at the southern border.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And we do have Venezuela, Congo, others that are emptying their prisons of their most dangerous criminals with one caveat: we'll let you out, but you go to the United States.
I believe every country.
And it's,
by the way, if you were the head of a country, you'd be the first one to do it. I know you. You'd say, "What? Let's get rid of these." You know the money they save and the danger they save.
And look at this map that I did a show about.
I do want to address this, Sibby, because I think this is a misconception. I think this is a misconception that even though this is very realistic, I can tell you, as being in this space of working multiple jobs, and yes, it's hard, but I would much rather be doing this than working in an office. So the fact that I can come here and have a IP, I choose to be in that not have a stable income. Depending on other people, building a platform, all that stuff, I'm choosing to do that. And I'm in a position where I already have a job. So, I have the time to build this up. So, I mean, This is similar to when I was young, and it was my girlfriend's twin brother who worked in a restaurant, and he had a few months older, so he was 16. He was working in a restaurant, and he would just complain about how terrible it was. Oh my god, I hated these people don't tip, and da 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 da. So I had it in my mind that being a server was a terrible job. So for years, my first job was working at Target. And then I went to another retail place, and then this retail place, and that retail place. And I hated it so much. Retail is the worst ever. But I was like, well, at least I'm not serving. And then finally, I'm in college. So we're talking, I started working at 15, and this was after college. So I'd moved back to my hometown. So I would have been 22, 23. So for almost 10 years, I had this idea that being a waiter was the worst thing ever. I made so much more money, had so much more fun, had so much more free time in every restaurant that I worked in, even the ones that I hated, than any retail job I ever had. Now, sure, it's certain people, if you're not used to the, it being really slow and then it gets really busy, fine, I get that. If you're not a people person and, you're stressed out and you can't put on the, hey, how you doing? I get that. But if you can, there is absolutely no well, I don't know post-COVID, but certainly pre-COVID, there's no reason you should try for retail over food service if those are your only two options. Because and I only thought that because of people saying stuff like this. So this is absolutely true, but you have to compare what this is to the alternative. And so, yeah, I mean, me and Stephanie, no, it's the worst. I'm not a people person. I get annoyed at you guys on this from behind the screen. I'm not a people person, but I have an ability to control myself when I need to. And so I just and I go back and be like, these motherfuckers. Hey guys, how we do? As long as you can do that, then you can be a great waiter, waitress, whatever, and you can make a lot more money than minimum wage. I was averaging as a not attractive or tall or strong, just an average dude. I was averaging at my last job like $17, $18 an hour, which isn't great, but again, short. What's the word I'm looking for? You're going for your shifts, short shifts, so 4 to 6 hour shifts. And then I would always be the one like, yo, cut me. Let me get out of here. So I'd be in there for 4 hours, make $50, $60, $80, $100, and be out. On the weekends, making $150, and you're hanging out, having a good time. You got to go check on your tables, whatever. But once you learn how to do it, just like with all this, I had to learn what I'm doing. Now it's so much fun. It's so much fun to come and hang out with you guys. Yes, it's stressful when things aren't working, Rumble's not working. I had to restart. I'm the same exact way where I'm like, okay, guys, ask me a question inside. I'm like, oh my god, please work! Oh my god, it's the worst. But you hold it together. You realize that you're performing, and just keep the performance going. Now, some people put more performance than authenticity. I tried to put a good mix. Point being, just because this sounds bad doesn't mean that it's worse than the alternative. That indeed was a side rant. Retail's worse than server. The joint sales. Yep. I was every retail or every restaurant I ever worked at, I got fired for drinking on the job. Not that the managers didn't also, but hey, it is what it is. When you get caught, you get caught. MLS9 said, I worked in a grocery store in high school. It can be hell on earth. Yeah, on your feet, 8 hours straight. You get a 15-minute break, and that's it. You've got time to lean. You got time to clean. When you're a server, if you got 2 tables, you go, get their put their order in, get them the drinks, and then you're hanging out, talking to cute girls that you would never otherwise be in contact with because you're out of college. Where are you meeting girls your age? it was fun. And if this doesn't work out, I am definitely going back to food service while I figure out the next move. Or should I think to call them smart? Who's smart? Okay. They're corrupt ideologues and they're Machiavellian, but smart, not a chance. They're playing a long game. So if you're talking about the elites, I gotta disagree with you. I mean, you can't be Machiavellian and not smart. I think those are kind of. I think Machiavellianism is a type of intelligence. But again, we can agree to disagree. See, I wanted to be a delivery driver, but my mom was like, no, you don't. And again, where I grew up, there was a lot of, like I grew up on the nicer side of town in the suburbs, but there was also, if anybody knows Governor's Point, like, I want to end up in GP after dark. So my mom wouldn't let me do that. And I did Uber for a while, but that led to one of my arrests because in near Trenton, I had somebody near Trenton, and I drove them all the way up there. Apparently, I'm going to assume this from what I know, and I do believe it is accurate, but I don't know for sure. He was doing the heroin in the back of my car. So there was a needle cap on the floor. So I'm driving around, I'm doing Uber, whatever, meet my friends at the pub, and they're all wasted and whatever. And they're like, yo, we'll give you $100 to drive us down to AC. All right, word up. So then we drive down, and, by the time we get there, it's like 2, 3 in the morning. I'm like, well, I'm already here. How long are you guys going to stay? I may as well, stay with you. Then we just drive back. So like 5, 6 in the morning, we end up driving back. Now, we did happen to take some ecstasy while we were there. And so because I was rolling, as soon as we got into the car, if you know anything about the Atlantic City area, you have like Atlantic City, and then it's pretty far away from anything else. And so once you get on the Atlantic City Expressway, it's like 6 lanes each way. Very easy to, you don't really have to worry about cops. And so I'm like, yo, light up a blunt. I'm trying to drive, and I'm like white knuckling here. And so he rolled up, and he was warning me against it, but I didn't listen. I was like, bro, I need it right now. And rolled up. As soon as we sparked it, we're coming up on this hill. So we're driving up, and it's kind of like a hill. And then as soon as we get to the top, there's a bunch of cop cars blocking off all of the lanes. And so real quick, it goes from that 6 or whatever lanes down to the 1 lane. Hungry dance. And it's they stopped traffic because it just so happened that on that day, there was somebody that escaped from the Atlantic City police or prison, jail, whatever it was. And the Atlantic City Expressway, they had closed it down, and they smelled the weed. Everything got pulled over. My boy took the charges for the weed, but because there was a needle cap in the car, and it didn't go well. Did not go well. I don't know how we got there, but interesting story, right? All right, is there anything here, or should we dive back in? Let's dive back in.
Head of a country?
Well,
you'd be the first one to do it. I know you. You say, what? Let's get rid of these. You know the money they save and the danger they save?
And look at this map that I did a show about this. The red is where Chinese government has funded buying major farmland.
Yeah.
And then superimposed on that are some of our most strategic military bases. Yeah. And you can see.
I would disagree. I would say the IP that is their especially these days, the IP that is what you hear on Spotify is what brings you to go to the live performance, not the other way around.
There's Dugway Proving Ground. That's military.
I was so close. To quitting my job and looking for a serving job, but it just it just was the change. And I was like, I don't know how everything's going and all that stuff. Hey, shout out to Zippy again with the Rumble Ring. Come on up here. Bye. You wanna go there? Okay. There we go. What does he say? Another one for the doggy. Thank you so very much indeed. It is now. It wasn't then. It is now. So I think it was, I want to say 20. I think it was approved 2020, and then it came in effect January 21 or something like that. I don't know. I still, do my own thing. Check out the after party if you care. Thank you again, Zippy, my boy.
See, there's Dugway Proving Ground. That's military equipment, biological, chemical weapons. They're surrounding it. Utah Test Training Range, the largest supersonic authorized restricted airspace in the United States. Whiteman Air Force Base, B-2 Spirit Stealth Bomber Base, missile drone operations.
So, wait, did we see what the point that he's making here? I'm gonna take these off.
About this, the red is where Chinese government has funded buying major farmland, and then superimposed on that are some of our most strategic military bases. And you can see there's Dugway Proving Ground. That's military equipment, biological, chemical weapons. They're surrounding it. Utah Test Training Range, the largest supersonic authorized restricted airspace in the United States. Whiteman Air Force Base, B-2 Spirit Stealth Bomber Base, missile drone operations, MQ-9 Reaper, Global Strike Command 3, Air Force, entire Bomber Force, nuclear command, control, and communications. Fort Liberty, Airborne Special Operations Forces, rapid deployment. We've allowed them to come in and buy up agricultural land, wind farms, no wind, no blades on some of the towers, but they're surrounding our military bases. Right. We've allowed that to take place. You may come in and inherit all of this, and it may get worse over the next 5 months.
It will.
What are you going to do about that?
Well, first of all, you mentioned a thing, Fort Liberty. Used to be Fort Bragg. We won world wars from Fort Bragg. Yes. And they changed the name.
Again, but Zippy, this has to do with the centralization, not the IP rights themselves. The problem was that Spotify was trampling on those IP rights.
And I don't even want to say that they spent $37 million in doing it, because that's not the most important thing, but that's a lot of money. You know,
it's pretty disgusting.
Now, I will say this: we want to let people come in.
I'll definitely, I'll take that agreement, that compromise there. Fair, agree. Great. Great. And also, yeah, I don't use Spotify, but just saying. So, when she's saying that I was referring to the people around Biden specifically, they aren't particularly smart, in my opinion, just shameless, corrupt ideologues following the Marxist playbook. That I can get behind. Zippy said, question, can the U.S. government figure out the shell company spiderweb? Can they really tell who owns what? Probably not. Probably not. I mean, probably not. Like, probably not.
That's a lot of money. You know,
it's pretty disgusting.
That's now. I will say this: we want to let people come in and invest in our country at the same time.
Of course,
we want them to come and invest. We don't want to make it so impossible. We have to be careful. And this is a lot of land. What disturbs me as much, because we don't want to, say we're not going to let anyone come in and invest. That would be a bad thing. You know, when I was
young, they don't need to buy around our.
No, there seems to be a lot of activity around those nuclear sites, to put it mildly. But the thing
that was a bad word.
When you mentioned Fort Liberty, I remember that battle. As soon as I got out, they changed it. But they changed.
How do you know? How do you know? He never speaks it. Got him. Biden, you a bitch.
Many names, almost all of them. They changed the names of these forts where we won 2 world wars and plenty of other things. And there's a great anger about that.
Well, as you know, they call it.
So I just put up a new poll of Zippy's question here. Can the U.S. government figure out the shell company spiderweb? Can they really tell who owns what? We are now at 50-50. Let's see what you think.
Presentism.
Let's see.
All of them. They changed the names of these forts where we won 2 world wars and plenty of other things. And there's a great anger about that.
Well, as you know, they call it presentism. What they do is they take today's cultural standards and apply.
Yeah, that's fair use. That's what we're doing right now, baby. Shout out to fair use.
Apply it to people's conduct 100 years ago, as though 100 years ago they were supposed to predict what the standards were going to be 100 years in the future and behave the way things were going to be 100 years in the future. You can't do that. It's like you drive through a neighborhood when the speed limit is 20, then they come and change it to 10 and say, I'm going to give you a retroactive ticket. And that's what they're doing. They're holding these people to the standards of today's mores and folkways based on how they behaved back and in that time. It's called presentism. And so they say, oh no, we've got to take these statues down. We've got to
50-50.
change these names because they were behaving in ways that we wouldn't accept today. Well, but it was accepted back then. I'm not saying it's our brightest hour. I'm not saying it's our most shining time. But these people also did great things, along with things that we may not be proud of today.
Thank you for being here, Amber. You have a good one.
But that's who they were at the time.
It is never, if you know these people, because it's a group of people and they don't represent the big majority, okay? They don't represent,
No.
but it's never good enough. No matter what you do.
No, I
Phil,
call it
it's
tyranny
never-
of the fringe.
Yeah, it's never good enough.
Tyranny of the fringe. That seems so spot on that I'm surprised that we don't hear that more often. Guys, we did just pass the 2-hour mark. If you would like to keep the party raging, you know how to do it.
Enough. No matter what you do.
No, I
Phil,
call it
it's
tyranny
never-
of the fringe.
Yeah, it's never good enough. You could do all the name changes, all of a sudden they'll find that's a problem. So in
If
different
you
parts of the
inherit
country,
this, if you inherit bombs in Russia and you have to deal with Putin, if you inherit terrorists on our soil that could attack our energy grid, how do you deal with that?
I will deal with it, and I'll get the war in Ukraine settled and done by the time I get to office. As president-elect, I will get it done. As president-elect, you have great power. I was able to do great deals from the time I got elected in 2016. I was able to do great deals from the time I got elected to the time I got to office in that little, because you have great power there. You need the power of the presidency to do it. I'm going to get the war in Ukraine. If it's not done by that time, now it looks like it's getting worse. They're taking weapons now where they can shoot deep into Russia. Where is this going? Here's the problem with Ukraine, which is right next to, we have an ocean in between. They're in for a tiny fraction of what we're in for.
Yep, that is definitely the question. Do they want to? They protect their own. If you're hiding money through a web of shell companies, you better believe they'll find you, take your loot, and lock you up. The donors can do whatever. Zebby said, live performance falls under live performances, not fair use. What does Google say? A live performance of a copyrighted song may be considered fair use if it meets the guidelines set out by copyright law. Court will decide if it blah, 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 blah. But assuming that you're actually performing the song and it is, not, you're performing it, then that is a fair use of copyrighted material, aka intellectual property.
We have an ocean in between. They're in for a tiny fraction of what we're in for. And I know them very well because I did it with NATO. I said, you people are delinquent. We're paying almost the entire cost of NATO. So they, excuse the word, they screw us on trade. And then on top of that, we're supposed to defend them. And I said, it doesn't work that way. But I didn't want to do that on my first. I let them know my first. When I came back, I didn't want to do it. I was in office for like 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? But I said, you're not paying your way. And I went back the second time and I said, you have to pay. Hundreds of billions of dollars was paid. They asked me one question, will you defend us against Russia if we haven't paid? I said, absolutely not. As soon as I said that, and I took a lot of heat from the fake news. The fake news went crazy when I said that.
Why? America, we're the world police. If somebody's in trouble, it's our responsibility to help them. Is it though? Of course not. Of course not.
That, and I took a lot of heat from the fake news. The fake news went crazy when I said that because I said I won't defend them. Now you have the same thing. They paid hundreds of billions of dollars quickly. And that's what got all the money to do what they're doing now. But remember this. So we're probably in for $250 billion. They just got $62 billion. And now I heard today that they need more money. It's going to never end. Now,
they need more money or they want more money?
Some people that say it's not a war that should have ever been started. It would have never started if I was president. Putin would have never done it. First of all, energy went up so much that he makes money on it. When you get up to $100 a barrel, I had it at $40 a barrel, Phil. It's so different. Yeah. But it would have never happened. But now it has happened. Sometimes I hate to say almost that it would never have happened. And Israel would have never happened. The attack on October 7th would have never happened because Iran was broke. And Iran wasn't funding Hamas, and they weren't funding any of the terrorists, Hezbollah, all of them. There's like 28 of them.
So again, as you know, when October 7th happened, I never tried to posture as somebody who knew what the hell was going on over there. You go check the record. I think it was 2 different streams that I did, but at least one where I brought people on who sounded to me like they knew what they were talking about and kind of educated me on the different positions of the conflict. And then over time, I was doing more reading and listening and watching and understanding because I really just it was one of those things where it's like, I don't think there's really a position for me here. And I was right. Like, ain't nothing I can do about what's going on over there. My opinion matters nada. But the fact that nothing like that happened under Trump, and that as soon as Biden got in office, we had Afghanistan, then we had Ukraine, then we had, why would I think? Why would the Occam's razor of the least amount of assumptions tends to be the right answer? You would have to break that to say that there wasn't a direct correlation between how Trump ran the country and how many wars we're going to have and how people feel about impeding on doing things that America is going to get involved versus Trump. I mean, I don't think I need to be a military expert to be like, yep, I agree with that, and not be talking out of my ass. Mercy said, America is more like the world's most belligerent bully. Pretty much. And it's not because the people want it. It's the mic. So he said, all CIA funded. If it's a terrorist group, it's funded in part by U.S. money. Ain't taxation grand, and all taxes just print more money. I was with you until the end.
Hamas, and they weren't funding any of the terrorists. Hezbollah, all of them. There's like 28 of them. They had no money. They were broke. I said to China, if you buy oil from Iran, you can't do business in the United States. They didn't want to take any chance of that. Everybody stopped. And we had no terrorist attacks. And I never wanted to talk about it when I was president.
And you should have, because people like me were too easily swept up in the message that, hey, this isn't how this is normally done, therefore it's bad. That was the message. We have a decorum and a way of doing things, and this ain't it, and therefore that makes it bad. And the thing is, maybe the way you've been doing things at large is not the answer. Took me a while, but I found it.
We had no terrorist attacks, and I never wanted to talk about it when I was president because I didn't want to jinx it. I wanted to get up and say, we have had no terror. Think of it. During my 4 years, we had no terrorist attacks. This nation is in such danger right now with the people that you're just talking about coming in. And it was interesting because I saw 29,000 Chinese people, and they showed it on camera. They look very strong. They all have their propane stoves. They all have cell phones. They look like military people.
A lot of military-age men.
Yeah, they're mostly men.
You ain't wrong.
And they're mostly of a perfect age for military. And it's almost like, what are they doing? Building a military organization within our country with our help? We have people running our country who are grossly incompetent, headed up by a president who should never be there.
How do you unravel that?
Well, you have to do it with people, and we'll do it. I have the same thoughts as you do.
Look at that. Using the same exact, not the exact terminology, but how do you unravel that? Because it's all about the money. Yeah, the message.
With people, and we'll do it. I have the same thoughts as you do. A lot of common sense to this stuff. It's not, we talked about it before, conservative, liberal, I don't care. It's common sense. We need borders. We need low taxes. We need good education. We need a strong military. I rebuilt the entire military.
Yeah, Mercy, this is, I don't think anybody can have a substantive argument to this, right? Like that's not an arguable, that's just a fact, right?
The entire military was rebuilt.
Maybe if we're talking all of human history, measure up the English and the French, but still, I think, numbers wise, maybe not in number of deaths, but certainly in number of campaigns. Top of the class. Yep. Don't forget about the war on drugs. Destroyed South America, and certainly didn't help North America. Excuse me. Fuckmaster in general said high school and college students in China have to take a 1 or 2 week military course. Yeah, that's another thing in South Korea that it's mandatory to do a tour. And again, it doesn't mean you have to be on the front lines, but I would be in favor of that. I think there's a lot of people who don't need to be voting, and we have enough infrastructure at this point for the people who care and the people who want to do stuff, and then all the NPC people to just live. Like, that is a sad thought, but it also is the reality that a lot of those people are just dumb and not willing to do any of the stuffs. But we don't need all of them. We just need the people who are willing and able to do shit.
I built a wall that was so great, and I got Mexico to give us 28,000 soldiers while I was building the wall to keep people out. We didn't have what you have today. We had the lowest day the week that I left office, and it was a sad day for this country. The week that I left office, that's when we had our lowest illegal flow of immigrants coming into our country.
Surprise, surprise.
And all Biden had to do was leave it in place. I had a thing called Remain in Mexico. They had a Remain in Mexico. How good is that? They had catch and release in Mexico. It was so stupidly run.
If you're not familiar, the idea being that all these people from other countries are traveling all the way through South and Central America to come across the Mexican border into the U.S. claiming asylum. Like, all right, if you're so scared of whatever country, stay in Mexico. You don't need to be in you don't need to be in the Trump Tower of countries to escape, being in being in that status. Like the idea of coming here as for asylum is supposed to be that either there's nowhere else you can go, or this is the easiest place to get. And yeah, it's not like we people are just stumbling over. This is a huge operation, but it's racist because I can't even come up with a fake reason. I don't even get it. Why is it racist? Remain in Mexico. Stay the fuck out.
Catch and release in Mexico. It was so stupidly run. And all Biden had to do when he goes to the beach, he's always in the beach, right? He thinks he looks good in the bathing suit. Some advisor said, go to the beach, you look great, Joe. And he can't even lift a chair, which weighs about 6 ounces. Those chairs that you can lift. They're meant for children and old people to lift. Oh, man,
you guys saw that one where he's like dragging the chair along and he can't even pick it up?
So Joe is in the sand and he's in the beach. And he's totally decimating everything that we built. We built the strongest border in the history of our country, and we're going to do it again. Just one little thing. In 2016, I got elected maybe because of the border.
Hey, brownies. If you're brown and you're not born here, fuck you. No, come in the legal way or don't. My parents did it, and they're doing a lot better than a lot of Americans. So just saying, it can be done. It can be done.
But that border was a fraction. It was nothing compared to what the border is today. And I fixed it. And in 2020 when I ran, I couldn't even talk about, nobody wanted to hear about the border because I fixed it. I'll fix it again. But the border today is many, many times worse than it was in 2016.
Well, I've been to the border, and they just straight up say we're using tax dollars.
Yes, that was another thing. So it was early. Dr. Phil was talking with Matt Walsh, and they did the trans stuff. It was the more recent thing was him going to the border and talking to the CBP agents and asking, like, is there, S trafficking is possible? And like, oh, definitely. That was it. That was like, the surprising aspect of like, oh, I thought you were like a daytime TV guy. And we're like, all right, you're willing to put it out there. All right, I'm listening.
Well, I've been to the border, and they just straight up say we're using tax dollars to send some of these children that are coming across the border into known prostitution rings, into sweatshops, because we don't have the ability to check. They're just sending them off.
We have 80.
And they were saying they would come in with phone numbers like on a wristband or whatever, and you call the phone number to see like, hey, do you know this person? And they were like, yep, we know exactly who it is. What's the point of even calling? What's the point of calling? He said social aid has made borders 1 trillion times more important. Social aid has made 100%, 100%. Yep.
Sweatshops, because we don't have the ability to check. They're just sending them off.
You know, we have 88,000 missing children. Now, can you imagine if that were Trump that had 88,000 missing children? Yeah. 88,000, that's a Holocaust. That's as bad as I mean, think of it. These are young, very young children, and also women. Mm-hmm. They take women and they trade women. And I had it brought down to the lowest level because I had a border that was actually strong.
And you're going to take it back to that.
Oh, we're going to bring it back. And I think then some. You know, one thing, and you know this better.
Wait. That just sounded like, and again, I'm just speaking about the optics here. I'm going to play it back so I can understand. But it just sounded like they were like, hey, you know, there was this whole thing with trading women. And then Dr. Rowe was like, oh, you're going to get back to that. Yeah, like, hopefully. That's what it sounded like.
They take women and they trade women. And I had it brought down to the lowest level because I had a border.
I missed that. Okay, I had brought down to the lowest level. Okay.
That was actually strong.
And you're going to take it back to that.
Gotcha.
Oh, we're going to bring it back. And
I wanted to make sure. Because if that line wasn't there, then I'm very much misunderstanding what the hell we're talking about. Or that's a bad line. And I misunderstood.
I think then some. You know, one thing, and you know this better than anybody, that you got to know people. It's about people. If you put a great person at the head of a big agency, lots of good things happen. In my business, if I have a good super in real estate, superintendent running one of my buildings, and if I move him to another building, sometimes you move him to another building but then that building, you need good people. And we had a lot of great people. I had some that I was very disappointed in. I was some that I was very, very disappointed in. But the one thing is that I was in Washington 17 times in my entire life. I never stayed over. That was reported by the news. I was very rarely there. I wasn't a Washington. I was a New York person. I was a builder in New York, a real estate guy. I had a wonderful company. Everything was going good. It would have been so easy to just to keep doing that. It was probably one of the most successful days of my life was the day before I announced I was running for president. Once you do this, the whole world changes. I even lost Oprah. Okay, Oprah liked me so much, and you know I haven't spoken to her I think since. But she's a good person. Please give her my regards. But you know, you do things, and my attitude is you have to do what's right. If I didn't think that I won the election by a lot, I would have never run.
Yeah, as we saying, I was listening to stuff about pre-1900s when people came here. They had to work and integrate into society. They had to stop the Chinese because they worked too hard. And yeah, I mean, it's the whites. Y'all are getting beat out. You're getting beat out by my people, Indian Americans and Asian Americans. We better than you people. We better than you people. Isn't it amazing to be able to say that as a brown man? One day, I have a dream that one day white people will be able to say that they are better at stuff that they're better at. I don't know how to do that, but
if I didn't think
it's a joke
that I won the election by a lot, I would have never run. And I don't think I've ever said this on air before. Maybe I have, but losing the election wouldn't have been that. You know, somebody wins, somebody loses. You go on with your life. But when you lose an election that you know you won by millions of votes, if I didn't think I won the election, I would have never done it a second because I would have lost. In other words, I would have lost.
How many of you believe him? Let's make that a poll. Do you believe that if Trump, how do we want to phrase that? Is there a scenario where Trump would have conceded? Or do you think, based on what he's saying, hey, if it seemed fair and I lost, then I would have, you know, said whatever. But it wasn't fair. So if it was fair, how do you think he would respond?
I didn't think I won the election. I would have never done it a second because I would have lost. In other words, I would have lost. I ran because I won the election, and I know that that's what the people want. They want what you and I are talking about right now.
Not by black people in New York.
They want strong borders and they want good education. They want all these things that we talked about. And we're going to get it to them. We're going to get it fast. Probably the hardest problem, the biggest problem is nuclear and the weaponry, and we have to keep out of wars and all that. But the hardest problem for our country is the millions and millions of people that have been brought into this country, that have been dropped here. Many of them should not be here. They're really, really bad people from the jails, from the places. And you know what's going to happen? You'll take 10 out, and you'll have one where it's a woman with a couple of kids, and you're going to have the news say, oh, look at this, how horrible, how hard. It's a very hard thing to do, but we have to have the largest deportation effort in the history of our country. Dwight Eisenhower had it.
You remember when I don't remember if it was like, it was kind of a carryover a conversation from the end of Obama's term to the beginning of Trump's first term, where we're talking about the reality of deporting 11 million people. It's kind of funny how now it's like, okay, well, we can't not deport these people, but it's like at least 5 times as many. It's almost like if we had some kind of mass deportation 10 years ago, then a lot less people would be deported. Am I wrong? I don't know what this means, but in the back. Gotcha. Took me a second. There are too many anomalies that look fishy as hell. I know I was watching coverage all night long. What are we talking about? Yeah, I don't know what CSAM means. Like that's all the same? Is that what we're saying? I'm stupid. Help me out. Be direct. Mass deportation is certainly going to get violent. Yup. Ain't gonna be fun. It ain't gonna be fun.
In the history of our country, Dwight Eisenhower had it very early on because he was one that wanted strong borders.
But you're not against immigration.
No, I'm totally for it. But
we need it.
I think we need it desperately. But I don't want their prisoners, and I don't want their people from mental institutions, and I want people to...
Why? Why do we need to have a psychiatric facility? Does anybody not know what he meant? Okay, then.
I want their prisoners, and I don't want their people from mental institutions, and I want people to come in legally.
The original, so America is the worst. Yup.
I want to let people come in. We need it. We do.
Well, is that for sure? Because I feel like India and like China might be worse, just because there's a lot of fucking people. Do we know that for a fact, or are we just kind of saying that? Just curious.
Institutions, and I want people to come in legally. I want to let people come in. We need it. We do need it. We need people, but we need good people. We need people that aren't going to blow up our shopping centers and kill people.
Let me ask you 2 areas I want to talk to you about that's going to be different because I'm different. So let me be different. You have a personality-driven platform just like I do. Mine's a fraction of yours. You've taken every shot you can imagine. You've been criticized, attacked, called every name in the book. They've turned the judicial system against you, the intelligence community. 51 intelligence officers swear that this is a Russian plant, this laptop over here, right before the election. The media has turned against you, print, TV, radio, internet, in the streets. Not campaigning Donald Trump, just real Donald Trump. How do you deal with that stress in your most private moments?
That's a good question, and I can't think of a better one to end on unless you guys want to keep the party raging.
So, 2 things. Number 1, I don't like thinking about it.
I wouldn't either.
Out of sight, out of mind. I don't know if that makes sense to you. I don't want to think about it.
I don't know if that makes sense. It's one of the most common phrases in all of English language, but I don't know if that means anything to you. I don't know if that makes sense to you. Because I'm Donald Trump. I'm so elevated that I use these terms. Trump indeed is hilarious. Come on.
Thinking about it. Out of sight, out of mind. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't want to think about it. Number two, I have tremendous support. I have the people's support. I think if I didn't, I wouldn't be able to handle it so easily. When a judge who has conflicts like nobody's ever had wants to put me in jail, when he puts a gag order and says, if you talk about these things, we're going to put you in jail. And I'm the Republican candidate. I was president. I'm leading the Democrat by a lot.
Facts.
Wants to put me in jail. I like not to think about it. It's like they say, oh, don't eat that food, don't eat this food, don't do this, don't do that. They don't really know. It might be good for you. It might not be bad. It might be good. They say it causes cancer. I say, don't talk to me about it. I don't want to hear the word. I don't want to. It's out of sight, out of mind. I think I have a very good disposition for trauma. But I have great support, Phil. The one thing is, because you mentioned lots of groups, and you're right about that, but I also have great support within the media. You know, there's a group of people in the media. You might be one of them. You're a very important force. The fact is, I've watched you so long. I just felt so confident when you called us that, you know, otherwise, what do I have to subject myself to it for? It doesn't make sense. But I find it to be a very different and very interesting it's a psychological interview that you're doing too. You're sort of being my psychiatrist, and maybe I could use a psychiatrist every once in a while. No, it's pretty cool. But I try not to think about. I try not to go into that. And very importantly, I have tremendous support. I have support from the people. You look at the polls, and they agree with me. There's sort of a silent majority. You know, it's a term that's been used over the years, but it's a true term. I have the support of many more people than they have, if we call they the bad guys. And I think
who is they? Who is they?
If I didn't, or if I felt I didn't, I would not be quite the same person.
You know, we all have a personal truth. You know, it's that what we believe about ourselves when we don't have our mask on, when we don't, you know, I put on a nice suit. You know, I'm going to see the president here. I want to be credible.
Looks good.
And we, you know, we put our best foot forward when we step out into the world. But we do have a personal truth that what we believe about ourselves, at our most vulnerable, when nobody's looking, nobody's listening. Maybe it's 3 o'clock in the morning. We wake up looking at the ceiling, thinking, what the hell?
I thought he was going to say looking at something else.
Nobody's listening. Maybe it's 3 o'clock in the morning. We wake up looking at the ceiling, thinking, what the hell am I doing? What do you say to yourselves when the crowds aren't cheering? When you're home alone, you're riding in the car, you're by yourself. What is the hardest, darkest moment that you can think of in this journey you've been on the last several years?
You have to be very strong. You're fighting off very evil forces, and they're very smart forces. There are people that control Biden. Totally true. I think I know who they are largely. But there are people that control him. They're very smart, very energetic. Possibly they're real believers, you know, what their sick ideology is.
I think they are, you know, real believers and pushing whatever they do. And then that's why I say, like, you know, I think it was Mercy was talking about how they're not smart and they're Machiavellian, but you know, and we came to that agreement that okay, they're not the most intelligent people, but they have this know-how how to just lie to the entire country and keep it somewhat together. And that cannot be underestimated. That cannot be underestimated. That is, you know, the biggest thing that we have to fight against.
But you have to be smart, and you have to have confidence. I mean, you have to have a certain confidence. The other thing is, I realize over the years, you know, I've been through a lot, great and bad. You know, I won the presidency. Everybody said, how are you going to do it? How good is that? It was the most incredible evening one of the most incredible evenings in the history of the country. Look at the celebration. I mean, it was incredible. But you also go through bad. I also find, I understand fully that the bad also disappears. In other words, you'll go through bad moments and it disappears. It's sort of funny because I've watched your show a lot over the years.
Donald J. Trump is now president of the United States.
Oh, God damn it.
Bad moments and it disappears. It's sort of funny because I've watched your show a lot over the years. See, I'm not ashamed to say it because some people say, oh, you watch Dr. Phil. Well, you know, your show is a very smart show. And I've watched you ask a question similar to that to some couple or and they break down, oh, they start crying on the show. I said, that's never happening to me. If that happens to me, that's the end of my political career. I think
projecting.
Actually, maybe people would like me better.
I don't think so. Projecting strength, maybe maybe some of the beta ass liberals will be like, oh, he's crying. He's, in touch with his emotions. But probably not. They're going to hate you either way. And we, those who support you, especially those of us who were vehemently against you and learned, hey, I need to humble myself. I have a lot to learn. And to sit back and realize you do have a lot to learn. And it's not as easy and simple as you thought. That's difficult. And I think I've been surrounded with people who, definitely help make that easier. But especially, depending on, the region that you live, even the friends that you keep, it might be very difficult to get real information, to get a real understanding of things. Because of all these people that are pushing all of this BS against Trump to try to poison your mind, that no matter what he does, he's still a bad person. Everybody put the Funk Master General in the chat right fucking now. Right fucking now. This man is, where are we going? This man is keeping the show rolling. I was ready to head to the after party, and there's nobody there, so I was going to head to bed. But the Funkmaster General, no question, no comment, just pure love of the game. Thank you so much, everybody. Everybody say thank you. Let's finish this up. I mean,
It's the end of my political career. I think maybe people would like me better. But I'll tell you what, you need strength. You have to have strength. And people don't want to see that. I've watched so many people, you break down people, they don't even know they're being broken down. But it's different.
Well, that's the last thing I want to do with you, but I do want people to know you. I want people to know every aspect of you, and I know it about myself. I know that not every time is a great day. Not every time is a hard day.
Until you led a charmed life. You never had a problem in your life, right?
Yeah. I watched you.
Shout out again to the Funk Master General. I really do appreciate it. I did want to finish this. So, I'm glad that you guys came through. There we go. Dilly to the Funk Master General.
You never had a problem in your life, right?
Yeah. I watched you during that trial. That's not a fun time.
It was an icebox. That courtroom was so cold.
Really?
And I believe it was set that way by the judge. That courtroom was freezing. I'd call it the icebox, right? I say, I just sat through.
For a man like Trump, who is full of cheeseburgers, to be cold, it must have been 50 degrees. Like, I've learned that, for a normal person to think a room is cold is very different. I'm kind of cold right now. And I think my thermostat is set to 68, and I have the fan on. I have the fan on two. I have two fans, like the ceiling fan for here and the ceiling fan for upstairs. Again, it's a loft, so there's two fans going. But and I'm already cold, and it's like 80 degrees out. So if he's in a room and he's like, oh damn, it's cold in here. That's a big dude. He's not as big as Barron, but that's got to be 50 degrees, and you don't do that shit on purpose, on accident. I've been in courtrooms before, and they usually are a little bit cold, but that's because I'm tiny, not because they're cold. Mercy said, it's weak Republicans and establishment uniparty politicians that allow them to get away with this shit. It's not intellect, it's corruption. Again, I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you that it's more corruption than it is intelligence. I just am scared to dismiss these people as not not capable. And so I agree with you. I'm nitpicking at this point, but I completely agree with you. As we said to the Funk Master, European tea trafficking is still a wild thing. Socialist communism spread a lot of war and strife. Then just said to Mercy, there's a lot of intelligence in corruption. If not, it would burn itself out fast. That's what I'm saying. Like they may not be worldly, they may not be culturally whatever, but They can do things that you never thought of, and that is something that we need to be aware of and respect. Shout out again to our sponsor, the Funk Master General. Belgium and the Netherlands are huge global hubs. Yep. Not good. Well, I appreciate that, but that's why everybody. I see 0 likes. This man just kept all of your show, all of your night, the entertainment continuing, especially if you're not a member. Then the show was about to be over. This man opened his wallet and said, I want to make sure that I pay homage to the Overlord, aka Morty. And a motherfucker can't even get it like, God damn. I don't feel as bad now. We in it together, brother. I appreciate you.
Courtroom was freezing. You know, I'd call it the icebox, right? I say, I just sat through 4 hours, and I'm not campaigning by doing that. That's what angered me. They're taking away my voice. They're keeping me in this icebox, and they're taking away my voice. But, you know, one thing that's, you bring it up, and you haven't asked me the question yet, and
did you do it?
I'm sure you will, although I know we've been doing this for quite a while, and it's an honor to do it. But the hardest part for me is probably my family, because it's very unfair to my family. I have a very good wife. She reads this crap. I have great kids. You know what amazed me? I gave up my salary. I didn't take salary. And it's $450,000, approximately $450,000 a year.
Here's the thing, though. Like, you know what you feel. If you're sitting in a room and you're cold, you know the difference between sitting in a room and being cold and sitting in a room and not being cold. So if you notice that you're cold, it's not like he hasn't sat in rooms before. I mean, well, Mercy disagrees. With the corruption. Okay, so what did you say here? So there's a lot of intelligence in corruption. If not, it would fail. Mercy said, I disagree. Corruption begets corruption. If no one's going to hold them accountable, then they can do whatever they want. Smart isn't the catalyst. Organization funding and entrenched allies are. I'm not saying they're dumb. I'm just saying that they aren't especially intelligent either. And again, I think we're kind of talking past each other and just are they more this or are they more this? It doesn't really matter. They're intelligent enough to be super corrupt. So at the end of the day, we are kind of nitpicking, but I do think it's again, my point was to just say that it would be a folly to dismiss the people in charge. Oh, they're dumb. They're not dumb. They know what they're doing, and they're doing it really well. That's why all of our lives suck. If they were dumb and bad at what they were doing, then our lives would be great. But I don't know about you. I mean, it's been worse, but my life certainly isn't great. Yeah, right? I mean, god damn. A tough crowd. I did my best. Shout out to Dane Cook. I did my best. You know. If you know, you know.
Salary. And it's $450,000, approximately $450,000 a year. So, it's still money. It's a couple of $1 million. I never had a good story saying I did. I'm not looking for a story. What surprised me is there was a couple of stories. Who else did it? Nobody. Everybody talked. I figured maybe Kennedy, it's a pretty rich family. I figured the only one that may have done it was George Washington. George Washington was a very wealthy landowner. And
he's talking about giving the salary back.
Said the only one that may have done it is George Washington. I figured Roosevelt, maybe FDR. There were some pretty rich presidents. Every president took their salary. Bush's took their salary. I didn't take my salary. I gave it up. And every month, I'd get a call from the fake news. Because you can't really give it up. You have to give it to an organization within government. You're not allowed to actually give it. So what happens? You get the check, and then you give it to Health and Human Services, or you give it to the Navy, or you give it to the Army, or something. And every month they say, "Did you give it? Did you give it?" And when you show them that you gave it, there was no story. And it was just interesting to see. The whole system is rigged. I mean, it's just a nasty system.
That's a good point. Like, no president ever has been like, "Yeah, I'm going to give this money away." Then one does. That is historical. Doesn't help us. We don't care.
But the saddest is, I'll give you one quick example. I have a son, Don. He's a good kid, and he wants to help people. And they said he was involved with Russia. He knows less about Russia than that young person sitting right over there, who I'm sure knows nothing about Russia. And it was Adam Schiff, a bad guy. And he comes out of a so-called intelligence meeting, and he goes to a microphone, and there's a lot of press gathered, because this was during the Russia hoax, total hoax.
Russia.
Had nothing to do. 5 million phone calls. I had not one phone call to Russia. It was a hoax, and it came out that way, and it's nice, but it took 2.5 years. And by the way, it was very dangerous, because at least Putin understood it was a hoax. You know, he used to say,
Facts.
he thought we were crazy, to be honest with you. He thought we were crazy. But
yeah, imagine what Ukraine would look like if the American leftist propaganda had actually taken hold worldwide. Like, what do you think Trump would do if because now I'm thinking maybe if Trump, so I want to throw it to you guys. What do you think would have happened if Putin had invaded Ukraine while Trump was in office? I mean, I think it's very, very obvious why Putin waited. But just for a thought experiment, if Putin were to invade Ukraine while Trump is in office, what does he do? Shout out to Hillary.
You know, he used to say, he thought we were crazy, to be honest with you. He thought we were crazy. But Don, so they say, Adam Schiff comes out and says, Donald Trump Jr. will go to jail because of what he's done with Russia. What? And it was Adam Schiff and Hillary Clinton and some others in the DNC that they made up a story. Think of how bad you have to be. You make up a phony story about Russia, the Russia hoax. You have the dossier, you have the whole thing. It's all fake. They paid $12 million or something for the dossier. $12 million. They gave this guy Steele a fortune to do a fake story. It's called the fake dossier, right? Mm-hmm. They go to my son. They know it's fake. It's not like they think it's real. They know it's a fake because they made it up. And they say, Donald Trump Jr. will go to jail. So I call up my son. I said, are you okay? Is there something I don't know? How bad do you have to be when you can say about a story that you made up that you know is fake, that my son is going to go to jail because of the story?
How do you deal with that as a father? Because
before we get into that, Zibby said if Trump was in, the system would not have ramped up its invasion of Russia. That's what I'm asking you. I understand that. We lived through it, Zibby. I get that. The question was, if they did, then what would have happened? Funkmaster said most people have a hard time believing and understanding a selfless behavior. You can say that again. Shout out to the Christians. Anyfilm said if Trump was a Russian stooge, Putin would have taken all of Ukraine. I think but so maybe, and then but so I'm not saying Russian stooge. I'm saying if Trump was Trump. And we know that in reality, Putin didn't want to ramp up because Trump was there. And then Biden came in and he was like, let's do it. That is what happened. However, what I'm asking is if we had gotten to this place, what would Trump have done in response to this? Not being a Russian stooge, being Trump, but Putin just, for whatever reason, he doesn't believe that they're strong enough. He thinks they will, for whatever reason. Trump is in office as Trump was. Trump being Trump. And then Putin invades. Where did he go first? The Donbass? Is that where? Or I don't fucking care. He invades. Then what do you think Trump would do? That's the question. Mercy Choke said, you just need a pen and corrupt president to write unconstitutional executive orders, an administration and network of partisan attorneys and bureaucrats to enforce them. Obama laid the groundwork for him. Again, I don't disagree, but, I mean, that to write an unconstitutional executive order, I mean, to have an administration, full stop, takes a lot of work. A network of partisan attorneys definitely aren't stupid. The bureaucrats, I mean, if they're just there. But that's my only point, is that I'm agreeing with your larger point. I think it is a mistake to downplay how crafty these people can be. Maybe they are not the smartest people, but their craftiness outweighs whether or not they are intelligent because what they can do with that craftiness. That is my point. As we said, Ukraine is in the U.S. invaded Russia, like Germany invaded, Russia invaded France. I just cannot unsee it. Oh, so you can't tell me how you'd feel if you didn't eat food yesterday. Gotcha. So I'm going to talk with Risa Tisa, and de-escalate things. Might have left the UN. UN more of an enemy. Okay. Fair. Anybody else?
Going to go to jail because of the story.
How do you deal with that as a father? Because I've had it happen to me. You've met Jordan.
Yes.
And my other son, Jay. I've had stories about them, and it infuriates me.
I called him up. I knew it wasn't true, but I said, hey, this guy, these are not stupid people. I call him Watermelon Head. He's got the thinnest neck I've ever seen, how it holds up that head. He's got a neck that's about a size 6. Very unattractive guy, both inside and outside. And people say, oh, that's such a terrible thing to say. It's okay. Very unattractive guy. Here's the thing. These are bad people. And it's not easy to deal with. You know, when you have your kids involved or your family, your wife, and you read stuff, most of it is untrue. It's just totally untrue. But think of that. They make up a story and then they say your son's going to jail for something that they know is false. These are bad people.
Is that harder to take than when they're talking about you?
Yeah, for me it is. For me, I've become different. Maybe it would have been tougher. I think the fact that I have such unbelievable support helps me a lot. It doesn't bother me.
Does it bother you?
What make it make sense? I mean, with my very limited foreign policy knowledge, they think that America will back them up no matter what. And so they need the gas, but they can harass Russia and then be like, hey, America, come on, do the thing. No, we definitely don't have to agree, but I think we do. I mean, I agree with you. You don't necessarily have to agree with me. That's fine, but I think we do agree.
That I have such unbelievable support helps me a lot. It doesn't bother me.
Has it bothered you? Has there been blowback on Barron because he's younger and more vulnerable?
It's not easy. And he's a great kid. He's a good student. He's got accepted to different colleges. He's got his
big boy.
Some of his colleges, all of a sudden they're rioting all over the place. You know, you're saying, but he's
It's so weird. He I mean, the pictures of like when he was, it's shocking. It's shocking. I just, I mean, I think it's good that they probably didn't keep him in the limelight all this time. I'm glad that he got to live more or less outside of the limelight. Obviously, it wasn't completely, but could have been worse.
He's a tall boy. Very tall. He's very tall, and he's a great kid. He's a good-looking kid.
Gonna play some
and he's going to be going to college, but he doesn't say it. And I think he doesn't say because he doesn't want to hurt me. He thinks it's possibly a hurtful conversation, but it has to affect my family, and I think that's really unfair because I have a very good family. I have good kids.
Look how tall. I can't get over how tall he is. Because Trump is a tall guy, and she's in heels, but Don's taller than Don Jr.'s taller than him. Like, God damn, and of course, oh my God,
wonderful wife. I mean, it's not easy for her to read this kind of stuff. That's fake. That's fake stuff. But
I wonder what his like the real actual relationship with Melania is like. Because I mean, I remember back again in my Never Trumper days, they would highlight any little instance of like, oh, she didn't want to hold his hand and this and that. It would at that time it would make sense that she was frustrated with the Stormy Daniels stuff. That was when it was first coming out. But I don't know if that is a representative. She's not been a very vocal first lady. Not that I think that would have necessarily, helped anybody, but I'm just curious. I'm curious what their relationship is actually like.
That's fake. That's fake stuff. But
I did not mean for that to play out like that.
That's the way it is. It certainly is not a good thing, and it affects me more than it would if it were just about me. I wish it could be just about me.
How's she holding up through all of this?
I think good, but I don't think it's an easy thing for her. And I think if it wasn't good, you wouldn't want to tell me about it, to be honest with you, because, she sees that I'm fighting like hell. I'm trying to become president and make America great again. That's what we're going to do. We're going to make America great again. They put tremendous obstacles in our way, including the 20 million people that are going to be in here by the time this guy gets out. It's an election we have to win. we're not going to have a country left if we don't win this election.
Have you ever thought that the toll that it takes on your family is too much?
One real way of
Have you ever thought that the toll that it takes on your family is too much?
maybe not in the way you express. That's a very interesting way of expression, actually, of that question. I haven't really.
Ow!
I think to a certain extent, I think that my family.
You didn't hear anything. That didn't happen. That didn't happen. 6, 7. Oh, so he's almost 7 years old, eh?
Wants me to do it. Our country's in trouble. We could be in a world war very soon. We could be.
We
We're going to
already
end the
are.
problem. Think of it. We're going to end Ukraine fast. I'm going to end it fast. I know both. I know Zelensky. I know Putin very well. I'm going to get it ended.
I bet he's gonna say, "I'm gonna get it in."
There's a horror show that's going on over there. But think of it. Why are we hundreds of billions of dollars more money? Why is this happening? Why is Europe spending a fraction of the money that we're spending? There's so many different things about that are just wrong. But my family is good. My family loves this country, and I think they feel that I do a good job. Look, we had the most successful country we've ever had during my time. We had the greatest economy in history of any country.
Do they want you to run, or do they tolerate you running?
An interesting question.
Oh,
Tolerate it.
finally, at the last minute, we've detected video in your stream belonging to someone else. So we are, we'll cut it. I mean, I'm going to talk until that goes away. And then we'll finish up at the 3-hour mark. And what we can do, since there's such a little bit left, if you want, for the members, we can just do this as the finish the rest of the conversation in the after party. But yeah, they are they're giving me this here. Let's see if so do we I thought I had another poll going. No. All right, fuck it, because once they give the warning, they're gonna claim it anyway. So that's right.
But
They at least tolerate it.
Yeah, they tolerate it.
All right,
I think
we're
they
good.
love the country. I
I
think
mean, we're not good, but it says we're good.
they think that I do a good job. I think they feel.
Wait,
Yeah, they tolerate it. I think they love the country. I think they think that I do a good job. I think they feel that a lot of people say that this is no. I get it so often, and I'm not sure it's right.
what the fuck did you just say? What did you just say?
They tolerate it. I think they love the country. I think they think that I do a good job. I think they feel that a lot of people say that this is no. I get it so often, and I'm not sure it's right. They say there's nobody else that can straighten out this country. And again, Viktor Orban said just recently, he's a strong man from a very interesting country, and he knows Russia very well. He knows Zelensky very well. He knows Ukraine, but he said the only one, Hungary. He said the only one that's going to straighten this out is Trump, because he didn't use the word respect. He used the word they were afraid of him. I don't want to say that about these people, these other leaders. I don't want to say they were afraid. I'm not going to use that term.
But they are. They are. And I was convinced with North Korea. I've told this story before, but the moment when he was, I can see it in my mind. He's sitting I'm watching the TV. The table's over here. He's sitting right here. I don't know if it's the war room, but there's a bunch of the situation, whatever they call it. War room, situation room, whatever. There's TV's over here. Camera's pointed at Trump. And he's saying, I don't know what they're going to do or something like that. But if they do, they're going to be met with fire and fury. I was like, yo, what the fuck? Chill the fuck out. We talking about a crazy dictator here, bro. My dad's like, chill. Hey, he knows what he's doing. I'm like, there's no fucking way you can know that that's going to work. But it did. And that was like the 9th time that I was like, you can't know that's going to work. But it did. So, I mean, probability says he probably knows what the fuck he's talking about.
But let's use the word respect. They respect.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was like. Exactly.
Respected me. They respected me, and they respected our country. And they knew if they played games, I was going to hit the hell out of them with tariffs and lots of other things. We have a lot of weapons, not just military weapons. I rebuilt our entire military, by the way. Our entire military is rebuilt. And this person that we have leading us, if you can call the word leading with quotes,
Layers.
he gave away $85 billion worth of brand new military equipment in Afghanistan. In my opinion, the lowest day in the history of our country. I think probably the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country was what happened, the way we pulled out of Afghanistan.
Agree or disagree? Agree or disagree that Afghanistan, pulling out of Afghanistan was the most embarrassing day in American history? Obviously, we have a recency bias. That was certainly the most embarrassing thing in recent American history. Is there a bigger embarrassment on behalf of America? I mean, the fact that I have to spend this long thinking about it, I don't know. You might be right.
We left people behind. We had 13 soldiers who had met the parents. They're devastated, killed. Nobody ever talks about, you would talk about them. I put them right at the top. 38 soldiers who are no arms, no legs, faces just wiped out. They're trying to live, trying to live. Nobody ever talks about them. They talk about 13 dead, absolutely. But they don't talk about 38 soldiers that have been wiped out. And then hundreds of people were also killed.
I mean, I don't want to, I was going to play the sad violin, but we use it sarcastically so often, but this is legitimately, like Funkmaster said, definitely, if not the one of our worst moments. As if he brings up Vietnam, which of course is up there as well. But I mean, I would have to ask about the understanding of what Vietnam was going into it. Obviously, by the end, America was like the hippies were no war, all that stuff. But I don't know what the public perception of Vietnam was before, but I definitely know what public perception of Afghanistan was. That's been my whole life. I was in 6th grade. I was in Miss Schmidt's 6th grade social studies class on 9/11. So maybe the fall of Saigon. So I mean, like, when we're bringing up the fall of Saigon, we're bringing up Vietnam. I mean, not in a good way. Not in a good way. We are not in a good way. Just many levels of fucking up.
But they don't talk about 38 soldiers that have been wiped out, and then hundreds of people were also killed. Hundreds of people with this.
Oh yeah, no question. You can't do that badly, unintentionally. Like I mean, I could believe, based on the what is that movie? 13 Hours. Again, Benghazi was like right before, like there was a lot of talk about Benghazi, but I didn't know what it was, which probably would have been fucking relevant, and I never would have fucking put anyway. But if that movie is anywhere accurate, then I would say that the intentionality was way worse with Afghanistan because of the scope. I don't know if would you guys agree with that or disagree? I'm kind of talking out of my ass. I don't really know, but I feel like that's correct. Sometimes you just got to trust your gut.
Madman set off a bomb. Should have never left it. They should have been in Bagram. We should have kept Bagram. Bagram is 1 hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons.
China.
Who's occupying Bagram right now? China. Yeah. China. We gave the biggest Air Force base, one of the biggest runways, one of the most powerful runways, 8 foot thick of concrete, built when the dollar was very big, okay? Years ago. We gave it to the Chinese. It should have never happened. What we've done, I think that was the most embarrassing day. And I have to tell you, if that didn't happen, I don't know that Putin would have gone in. I think Putin watched that catastrophe and he said, hey, this is a great time to attack Ukraine.
You think it emboldened him?
I think so, yeah, I think so.
Let me ask you this. Right now, headlines everywhere, of course, you don't respect, but there are headlines out there that say, when you win your second term.
When you win, hell yeah. Of course not.
That you are going to make the people that have come after you pay. Retribution and revenge. And let me ask you this before you even respond to that.
Get
I want to play what if with you for a minute.
Get 'em.
What if when you win this election, you said, enough is enough. Too much is too much. This is a race to the bottom, and it stops here. It stops now.
Nope. We tried that in 2020. Or excuse me, we tried that in 2016. We tried that in 2016. You remember how the whole fucking thing started with lock her up, lock her up, lock her up. Okay, she spent, oh, I got 11 hours in front of Congress. I don't fucking care. You belong in jail. At least to go through as much of this bullshit that he has. We already tried that, Phil. Sorry. But the lefty motherfuckers said, nope, you can be nice, not us. So no, sir. Unfortunately, we tried that and it didn't fucking work. So now you done fucked up. Think about where the liberals would be if they had, right now, in 2024, we were damn near the end of any possibility that Trump would be in office. And the last 4 years, we didn't have the counterfactual of what is life under Biden. Now, there is no reason to, number one, think that revenge isn't the only option. But it would be silly to try the same thing again. It would be silly. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that does anybody disagree with that? Biden's whole presidency is our biggest humiliation as Americans by far. Benghazi, Afghanistan, well, that goes in with that. But if we're taking individual things, Biden being the president, the only thing worse would be if he wins again. And understand how very fucking real of a possibility that is. I mean, yeah, as long as everything goes the way we want it to go, Trump's got it in the bag. But that's what the fuck we said in 2020.
It's a race to the bottom, and it stops here. It stops now. They've made a half a dozen or more major attempts to take you off the playing board, and you.
Shout out to the man of steel, man, most Mark. Welcome to the parties. 34 so-called felonies, upcharged misdemeanors past the statute of limitations for alleged mislabeling of a legal document as a legal expense, not even a real crime. Agreed. Welcome, buddy.
A dozen or more major.
So this, I'm going to back this up. You got to see this point. So Phil is trying to say, what if? Let's just play what if.
You said, if with you for a minute. What if when you win this election, you said, enough is enough. Too much is too much. This is a race to the bottom, and it stops here. It stops now. They've made a half a dozen or more major attempts to take you off the playing board, and you just said, it stops now. I am going to rise above this cycle of ugly. I'm not going to play this gotcha retribution game. It stops now.
This is a fundamental misunderstanding of what's been going on. As if Trump has the power to just be like, nah, we're not going to do government that way anymore. What are you talking about? And I hope this is just a question to let him, kind of speak on it. I hope this is not a legitimate question. Because that's what people think. That we think. That Trump can just snap his fingers and just change everything to make it so racist and this and that and that and that and that and that. And that. That's not what any of this is about. And if you think that, then you need to go back and talk to somebody in good faith who's willing to explain it to you. Because you done fucked up somewhere.
I'm not going to play this gotcha retribution game. It stops now. I'll forgive. I'll not ever forget. But I am not going to play this retribution game. I am going to put the American people first, not getting my pound of flesh first. You got to do what
getting your pound of flesh. Do you fucking remember? I'm out of this. Do you remember how we felt watching Dave Smith and Chris Cuomo? That's not getting a pound of flesh. That is what the American people need. The division that has been that they pretend doesn't exist. Just acknowledge it. Acknowledge that you fucking hate us and that you will do anything to prevent the lifestyle that we want. That's fine. Hate us. But fucking be honest about it. This has nothing to do with getting a pound of flesh. This has to do with getting rid of the people who will harp on getting a pound of flesh. That is what will help the American people.
American people first, not getting my pound of flesh first. You got to do what you got to do, but I'm going to put this country as the shining city on the hill. I am moving forward. I'm not playing the retribution game. It stops with me. It stops here.
Nope.
What if you took that approach?
I am so... let's get some of these comments because I'm triggered. I'm triggered! So what does Mercy say? Afghanistan is rich in rare earth minerals. China has bought up the rights to most of the mines, rolling out their Belt and Road Initiative. Bagram is strategically important, and now they got that too. Oh no, that was a total mistake. Oh man, oh no. Mimo said, impose shorter term limits on Congress, both in the House and Senate, that will inherently keep rhinos from maintaining power. I mean, I agree that that is a factor. I just worry that, you know, the problem isn't necessarily that they just maintain the power. The problem is that they get there in the first place. So with shorter term limits, all you're going to do is get a faster rotation of people who care more about getting elected than they do about actually helping the country. And also, they don't care because they only have, so many years. And they make all their connections, and they go into big pharma or the military-industrial complex. So I'm okay with when we have somebody good, we want somebody good. The problem is that preventing bad people from getting in the first place. Zippy said, "You provided a short video on China and Canada's government. How Trudeau likes China's governance. Posted a link in Discord. It is free to join, guys. Go check that out. We created China by offshoring our labor and manufacturing base. Yep."
Playing the retribution game. It stops with me. It stops here. What if you took that approach?
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Sometimes, I'm sure in certain moments,
I think he has to say this.
It wouldn't be. When you go through what I've been through, they spied on my campaign. They spied on my campaign. Remember I announced it? They did things that people don't even talk about. And I got rid of Comey, and I got rid of a lot of people. Thousands of people. At the VA, I cleaned it, 9,000 people. They were sadists. I got rid of. But what they've done is bad. With all of that being said, we have to unite the country, Phil. The country has to be united. This country is a mess.
Every situation.
Right, but why is the country not united? Is it because we just think different things? Or is it because there are people in power who are purposely dividing us? That we need to take them out because they are the cause of the division. I hope they clear this up. Because I do think that, Trump does have to give that answer. But that's going to be the biggest disappointment of this entire thing if that is kind of the note that they end out. I'm like, yeah, well, I'm willing to, whatever. You shouldn't be, because when you were, they fucked you in the ass. People said nobody knows why Biden would essentially turn over Bagram to China. It's not like the Biden family has gotten millions from them. Yeah, I know. It's so weird. So he said, bring the troops home, shut down the non-raw resource imports for 10 years. Memo said, because the people in power have been manipulating the public perception. Bingo. Exactly. So it's like, you can't say, well, we want the people to be connected. And so we don't want the people to be divided. So we're not going to be, we're not going to go for retribution of the people who are actively dividing the people. What? Make that make sense. How do you unite the people without taking out the people who are actively dividing the people?
Phil, the country has to be united. This country is a mess.
Every situation needs a hero. What a great opportunity for you to stop this cycle, this vicious cycle of.
He does not have the power to do that. He does not have the power to do that. There are too many angry people, both with citizens, as well as people in power on both sides of the aisle. This is a naive line of questioning.
Got you back, got you back. Every situation needs a hero. What a great opportunity to step up and say, you know what, it stops here, it stops with me.
I think you'll be impressed. We have to unite the country. We have to save the country. That's not really saving the country.
Apparently not, though. Apparently not, though, right? Apparently not, though.
There are people that did some bad things. I know who they are and all of that. But as an example, with Hillary Clinton, I'd mention her name. Everyone's screaming, thousands and thousands. Yeah, we just had 107,000 people show up in New Jersey. You saw that. 25,000 people showed up in the South Bronx.
In the South
Let's
Bronx.
go.
We had Wildwood, New Jersey. 107,000 people. It was a record. They've never had that. When I mentioned the name Hillary previous to the last election, they said, lock her up, lock her up, lock her up. But I would be there, and I'm trying to almost quiet them down. They were going crazy. How would it be I win, and I lock Hillary Clinton up? The president's wife, the former president's wife, I locked her up.
I agree. But now they are the ones who have crossed the Rubicon. I agree that you should not have locked Hillary up. But now they did it. They did it. This is the same fucking argument of going back and forth with Hamas and Israel and this. And well, they did it, and it's going to go back and forth. So what are you doing then? Nothing? You're just going to die then? Because they're not going to stop. Hamas ain't going to stop. So, and I'm not team Israel or fucking team anybody. I don't know, fuck what happens to those people over there. Fuck them. Fuck them. Stop taking my money and my countrymen. That's what I care about. Even said if political corruption goes unpunished, then it will only encourage more. Exactly. Well, you can just do whatever to the strongest man we've ever seen in this office in our lifetimes. And just whatevs. Amnesty, right? Because that's what that's how you think. You just do whatever you want, and there's no consequences. And we're the ones who have to bear the consequences. We're the ones who have to, well, it's okay that you did this and you did that and you did that and you did that and you did that because you're black or you're a woman or you're gay or you're this or you're that or you're that. Excuses! You fucked up. Stop putting it on us for you fucking up. You divided us, not us. Fuck you. Most said, no, he doesn't. Even then, there are too many people in power within the Democratic Party that have committed so many acts of treason and criminal acts. It's dangerous to continue allowing them to remain free. Absolutely. Absolutely. Commies never stop. They do not rest. There's no sleep. They are ants. She'd lock him up so fast. You think she's not behind this? She can. She is. But Trump's the one. Well, what if you were just nice? Maybe we could just go back to the nice, to the being nice. There is no going back. The Democrats made sure of that. He did play nice. Hillary Clinton is not in jail. But guess who's on trial? And so when it comes to these fucking people who will say that Trump's playing you. He's acting like they're going after you. No, he is a representation of me. At least in the context that if they can do it to him, they can definitely do it to me. So why would it even be intelligent? Why would you even think that it would lead to the conclusion of a unified America if we don't stop the people who are dividing us? I hope so, but we don't have a lot of time for that to be cleared up. We do not have a lot of time for that to be cleared up. And I'm going to assume we're at 103 of 108. So unless the rest of this is being like, well, I obviously know you can't do that. I just wanted to see, whatever. Unless that is, then I don't know if you heard of the recency bias. But this is, so the two things that are going to go viral later on is nuclear is a bad word. That's going to go fucking viral. And then this. Well, Trump, what if we did this? Don't you think? Yes, I'd be willing to do this. Every time he does it. See? He said he would do this. What a liar. What are we doing? What are we doing?
Clinton up. The president's wife, the former president's wife, I locked her up. And how would it be if I took the Secretary of State, she was Secretary of State, and we threw her into a prison someplace? I think it was terrible. And yet now they're trying
I would love to see it.
to do that with me. Think of it. I didn't want to do that. I could have done that pretty easily. She busted up her phones and she busted up her laptops and what they did, and they put
Fact check. No, Politico, or well, not Politico. What is it? Snow says no. Donald Trump is a liar. Hillary Clinton did not pour acid on her servers, but she did acid wash the servers. Yes. Oh, okay, gotcha.
her phones and she busted up her laptops and what they did, and they put bleach bit. You know what bleach bit is? It's so expensive nobody uses it because it's an acid and it wipes everything out. Could have done it really easy. Don't forget,
She did not pour a corrosive liquid.
she disobeyed a subpoena from the United States Congress, and she broke up all this machinery, all this technology after she got the subpoena. Think of it. How would it look if I took a president of the United States wife and threw her into a prison? I hated it because I wanted to bring the country together, and I largely did. And I brought it together through success because it was the most successful economy in the history of our country. Okay. Now, the difference is they're trying to do it to me. And maybe you could feel differently about it, but I don't feel differently. Retribution is going to be through success. We're going to make it very successful. We have to bring the country together.
And you can do that. Because let me tell you, this revenge thing there's a lot of.
I just want to show you this. I was looking up, did Hillary, and I go and look what is gone. And the whole website is just nuked. Fuck you, people. They have the actual video there.
Research and
The country together.
And you can do that. Because let me tell you, this revenge thing there's a lot of research and.
We were close. And I do applaud Phil for platforming Donald Trump and giving him more or less a relatively softball interview. But ending it this way is really disappointing. He's not stupid. He knows what he's doing.
Dr. James Kimmel at Yale has done this research and seen neurologically in the brain that there's an addiction to revenge, just like to opioid or whatever. And
right. So if somebody's addicted to opioids, let's just take heroin. Is it the best thing to do to just, take all the heroin away from them immediately? Or is there a better approach where maybe they need to detox and whatever? So like just saying heroin is the problem, so take away that's not the best solution to the problem, right? And so similarly, that's not going to work here.
Yale has done addiction to revenge, just like to opioid or whatever. And that even if people commit a crime and they get arrested for it, they see themselves as the victim and they want revenge against the person that arrested them. And then the person that arrested them gets hammered. So now that person says, okay, well, I'm not going to put up with that. So they go back after the criminal.
We very much are against law enforcement going after personal vendettas. Are we not?
Now the criminal has been victimized again. And so we get into this loop where we're addicted.
Yeah, Manuel said he's not perfect, but he doesn't deserve any of the bullshit they're putting him through right now. He could just be living free of care in Mar-a-Lago, but instead he's willing to be a martyr for us. You can say that's a talking point. You can say whatever the fuck you want. But it is what it is.
Addicted to it back and forth. It's got to stop. And we're better than this. We must be better than this. And you're big enough to do it.
We're better than this. And he's big enough to do it. But are they? It's always on us. We have to be the better people because we're the better people. We expect you to be the better people. We're the degenerates. We get to be degenerate because we're degenerates. But you're a good person, so you need to be the good person while we continue to be degenerates and destroy society. Isn't this how this works? Apparently!
Every situation needs a hero. You can stop this. You can say,
no, he can't. No, he can't.
It ends with me.
He can't stop
you'll
shit.
Be proud of the job we do. And, the word revenge is a very strong word, but maybe we have revenge through success. But that's what I'd like to see. I want to see the country survive, because this country is not going to survive like this. And really, the expression, I think it's the greatest theme ever in politics, maybe, because it's the biggest movement. We want to make America great again, and that's what we have to do. And I think he'd be very proud of the job we did.
The Pope has a book out that he's written, and he says, we are all brothers and sisters, and there must be no resentment among us for any war to truly end. Forgiveness is necessary. Otherwise, what will follow is not justice, but revenge. And that's true even in the cultural wars that we're fighting here.
So explain to me why this is not an appropriate situation for revenge. Is revenge always wrong? I understand that, revenge can go too far and all of that. But is there no scenario in which revenge is fitting? And if so, how is this not it?
I think you have so much to do, you don't have time to get even. You only have time to get right.
Well, revenge does take time. I will say that.
It does.
And sometimes revenge can be justified, so I have to be honest. Sometimes it can.
But is the country better or worse for them going after you?
I think the country
Worse?
is really worse for what they've done.
Obviously.
And I think you see that when you look at the...
So that's why we need to stop them, because they are the ones who are pushing this. And I'm not saying that there's not a cycle. But locking a motherfucker up is crossing the Rubicon. He literally had stadiums of people chanting "lock her up" and then won. And didn't do it. But it's going to be great. It's going to be great that now the gloves are off. This idea of Trump is the mean guy. Oh, no. You played that card too hard. You done fucked up. You played that card too early. Now you're all out of, Trump is a bad guy. You've been singing that song for almost a decade, sweetie. Ain't gonna work anymore. Mercy said, I don't need to be the bigger person, but I'm a Gen Xer, so there's that. I mean, fair enough. I don't know if I want to get behind that. I definitely don't need to be. I definitely don't need to be the bigger person, but there's a reason here. There's a reason here, and it's not because I'm a lazy motherfucker who is sick of the world and the boomers. I'm just playing with you. Absolutely, unquestionably. Unquestionably. I don't know how. If that's the thing, it's like Phil's asking as if we didn't just go through everything that we've gone through. Like Biden would be a full investigation of Biden would be in order had Trump never been in trial. And at that point, then yeah, okay, let it go. We have this thing where the presidents do shit, and then like that's how it works, and it may not be for the best, but it is what it is, and that's how we operate, and it's been working for 200 years. Let's just go. But now the precedent has been set, so this is how it is now. This is how it is now, and I'll tell you, every single time that I've realized that in my life, I've been right. I'm like, oh shit, this is different. I think the first one was when I first moved into my college dorm. I was like, oh shit, like I legit don't live with my parents anymore. Then 2013, Akon died. Those of you who know, R.I.P. Akon. I'm like, damn, this is my life now. And Trump got in office, and I was like, this is my life now. I was like, all right, this is my life now. And then Biden got in. Didn't think anything new about, this is my life now. But then the trials came. And this is our life now. This is our life now. No, it's not the singer. The guy who stole his name from my boy, Akon. No, my best friend died in 2013. His name was Adam Condiotti. So we called him Akon. Long before the singer was a singer. Because you don't even need us to use the Fed to charge or jail anyone. Just investigate them and let the public opinion and the states do the rest. I am with it. All right, let's finish this up.
I think the country is really worse for what they've done. And I think you see that when you look at the poll numbers, when you see that almost $400 million has poured in since this horrible decision was made. That was a few days ago. Numbers that nobody's ever heard of in politics before. It's a great honor. The people of our country get it. You know, they're very smart. Taken as a whole, I have to say, they're very smart. But it's been an honor being with you. It really has. And I think you'll be very proud of the job we do.
You have rallied people. I had people in my focus group the other night that said, I have not voted for Trump before. I have not been a Trump fan before, but I have donated to Trump because he has inspired me. I have donated to him, and I am voting for him now, and I have not before, but he has inspired me.
Actually, it's been a beautiful thing to watch. Thank you.
Mr. President, it's been an honor
Thank you
speaking
very
with you.
much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, all right. And again, what Mercy said, what goes around comes around indeed. It does. And hopefully, you know, that's pretty something that we can count on, because there is a lot to go around. There's a lot to go around, but you know, there's definitely a perception, and it can't be just balls to the wall. But we can't let it continue the way it's been. Like, that's not a way to operate a country. It's just not. Yeah, what did I miss it? Zippy, what happens over 50% of the time when police investigate themselves? Conclusion, zero liability of wrongdoing. Yeah, like, come on, man. And so that's why we need... how are they now trying to say, we've detected a video on your stream belonging to someone else? Fuck you, this is news. And this is fair use. But I don't know. That really upset me. The way that ended. That was upsetting. Because if you're gonna play the what if you're gonna frame it as let's just do what if, then you have to then be like, okay, now how does that compare to the real world? Because now it makes it seem like, oh yeah, Trump said he's gonna play nice. I don't think he did that. I think he said, is it possible that might be a way to operate? Sure, maybe not. Minmo's Mark said, I'll say what's rather compelling to learn about is what's happening to Alex Jones. 30 years on air, and they're trying to shut him down beyond a court order. They have shut him down. He is done. And I mean, not saying he can't come back, but these are the type of people. These are the type of people that it's like, yeah, let's just let them do what they're doing, and we'll be the heroes.
What?
Show me the superhero movie, whether it's Marvel or DC or anybody. Show me the superhero movie where the hero just lets the bad guy continue to be the bad guy, so that, you know, there's not a back and forth, because then you do this and then they show me that movie. Oh, it doesn't exist because that's fucking stupid. It's until Friday. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, but I think he's in a corner, bro. I think he's in a corner. More people think the government is full of criminals. They are. So let's shout out our sponsors. Shout out to Stephanie Miller. Welcome back to the party. Always good to see you. We had a comment of the night. Biden's 2024 slogan. Dilly, do that. We had our boy Zippy the Strange over on the Rumble Rants. Thank you. And of course, our sponsor, the Funk Master General, again, holding me down. Everybody, no, I'm not going to say that. Thank you so very, very, very much for hanging out with me, guys. I really do appreciate it. You know, I know that you could be doing anything else in the world. So any time that you are spending here is time that I appreciate. And, oh, thank you. Always a great conversation. Dilly to that. Dilly. Thank you so very, very much, guys. Once again, I have been your host, Lech, aka the Indian Jesus. That is Morty, but he is asleep. So until next time, guys, I am out of here. Peace. Oh, I was supposed to do it with this hand, so I can do peace.